What will happen next? I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report, and you're watching today's live show. I've been getting asked, Mitch, what's going to happen next here around the silver and black? The Raiders went out and they hired Pete Carroll. They went out and they hired John Spytek. So what we're going to be looking at next here on today's show is what the silver and black could potentially do. Could they give somebody like Maxx Crosby an extension? We'll get into the latest around that. We're going to look at some of the defensive coordinator topics because Patrick Graham, Rob Leonard, both names that we need to revisit here a little bit more in depth. Pete Carroll yesterday spoke to the media, and he had some interesting things to say about his thought process, and he had some interesting quotes around the quarterback position. So I'm going to take what I thought Pete Carroll said, and I'm going to tie it into basically what I think Raider fans need to know about the comments that Carroll made. Then, because this season's almost here, we know who the head coach is. We know who the general manager is. There's still a lot that can change from a defensive coordinator and OC standpoint, but let's look at the Raiders' 28 free agents. And I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to give you the top free agents that if I was in the room with Tom Brady, with John Spytek, with Pete Carroll, the top free agents that I would bring back to the silver and black. Now, one of the things that we like to do here on the Raiders Report for the new watchers, we already have over 700 people tuned in. We've had close to 4,000 new subscribers in the last 3 weeks, and I'm going to ask you all a lot of questions. That's how this show works. I'm going to ask questions like, who's going to be the Raiders quarterback this season? I would appreciate if you went down to the comments and let me know. I like a two-way street. We are called Chat Sports because I like to be able to talk about sports. You know what I'm saying? And the only way that that's going to work is if you guys sit up here and talk to me. And I know that not everybody always gets the opportunity to speak with me. I've done a few shows over the weekend, but this show is a community. This show is about bringing everybody together. Now, if you want to get your questions or comments on the show, like I see Nick did, or Knight did, you can super chat or you can skip the line with hashtag Raiders. I see Russell Wilson from Raider Nation 80. What's up, my man? Cam Ward from Luda. A lot of Russell Wilsons right now. De La Roy Rogers says AOC. I hate to break it to you. I don't think AOC is going to be the guy.
Is my guy Rich Wolf in the chat?
Why is that?
Is my guy Rich Wolf? Because,
the Rockets.
Because the Rockets are the best team in the damn NBA. Whenever y'all are ready to get on the train, y'all can join the Rockets hype train. Best team in the NBA. Let's go.
We might do Rockets watch parties just to root against the Rockets and Jeremy.
Dude,
I might do it. Y'all know I'm not an NBA guy. He's been talking about it all day today. We're talking about Rockets basketball in January, for the love of God.
Hey, Rich Wolf knows. Rich Wolf knows what's up.
No, I don't know if you know what's up. Actually, though, hire Beast Mode to be the running back coach. I say no to that. I know he was the one that yelled Raiders yesterday, which I love, but the objective should be to improve every single offseason, and as much as I love Marshawn Lynch, let's be honest with ourselves here a little bit. Carnell Williams, Cadillac Williams is a better running back coach, and on top of that, I think Lynch wants to just do his own thing. He also doesn't like speaking to the media, doesn't like talking to public, and that's something that a good coach needs to have. You have to have the ability to be able to teach, to be able to communicate. And no disrespect to Marshawn, I think he would admit this. I don't know if he's the best communicator. Here's another question that I got to ask the nation out there. There are 3 defensive coordinators right now that have been linked to this Raiders job. It is Patrick Graham. It is Carl Scott. It is Rob Leonard. Obviously, PG and Leonard are 2 names that we know. Graham was defensive coordinator last season. Rob Leonard's defensive line coach. Carl Scott, though, also 39 years old, young coordinator that spoke about very highly by Seattle, kind of the way that I think the nation would talk about Rob Leonard. My question to you is this. If you could pick from one of these 3 names here who you want the DC to be, type PG for Patrick Graham, type KS for Carl Scott, type RL for Rob Leonard, or if there is somebody completely else that you want the Raiders to hire, I want you to let me know. Because I see right now, a lot of PGs, man.
This might be the Disney Channel because all I see is PG.
All I see is PG. Oh, dude, that's good. Pedro, Jay, B-Ray, all going with the PGs. What up, Can't Walk? I see you down there, though. Can't Walk says Rob Leonard. And I know there's a lot of people that love Rob Leonard as well, which you guys already know. Yoda Jenkins going for PG. And then Real Cowboy coming in with some interesting super chats as well. We'll get into the supers here in just a moment. Before I do, though, I got to give a shout out to our sponsors. We got two of them. First one, Game Time. Last minute tickets, flash deals, lowest price guaranteed.
If you're trying to see a Rockets game, the best team in the NBA, hit up Game Time. They got you covered.
Honestly, I'd rather you not go to Game Time to go get Rockets tickets. Go get any other ticket. But seriously, though, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. If you're wondering what time is it, Houston, we got a problem. No, seriously, go shout them out. Huge love to Game Time. Our other sponsor here, to the 1,000 people that are tuned in, PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there.
I hate it.
And the big game's almost here. I know.
I hate it so much.
I know, but
you have to do it.
You have to do it. It's money in your pocket. Like, if you're going to sit there and watch the big game, you might as well benefit from Patrick Mahomes. No, he's going to throw more than one passing yard.
Also, at this point, you don't have to worry about going the more or going the less on the 250. You can just say, okay, Patrick Mahomes is out of the way. I don't even have to deal with him anymore. Yep. It's just, you get him out of your mind.
Exactly.
And get him out of your mind.
And if there's one player that I think all of us are sitting here going, I don't know if I really want to root for him, it's probably Patrick Mahomes.
There's 1,000 people in the chat. Can we get 1,000 FKCs in the chat?
So if you already know that you're going to sit there and watch the big game, you might as well try to put some money in your pocket. Easy, exciting, daily fantasy sports made easy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Just make sure that you use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run yo game. I got Marcus Blue Richards. A lot of FKCs down below. We already got 1,000 people, yet only 172 likes.
What?
I know my Ron Raspberry's got him.
What?
Real Cowboy. Bring back Patrick Graham as DC to be the head coach in training in a few years. Thoughts? I like this idea. You know, like I've been the one calling Pete Carroll a bridge head coach because that's what he is. He is a bridge head coach, and this has been somebody that Patrick Graham is a smart individual. Like, it's not too often on football teams where you lose a head coach and, you know, Patrick Graham's the DC. Think about how many opportunities PG's been given of. He was interviewed for head coaching gigs. He was interviewed for DC gigs. There aren't people come knocking on the door for Antonio Pierce. I think one of the biggest reasons why AP got the job is because it was AP and PG tied together. If the long-term plan is to promote Patrick Graham after 3 years of such, and Pete Carroll's doing the right things, I am on board for this idea. To me, Patrick Graham is a damn good coach. Let's go to Rich Wolf. Nothing I love more than a Celtics B2A. Shout out to Alpy. Yeah, I don't follow the NBA as close as what I should.
Our Celtics guy's not out there.
Also, random NFL news: Cliff Kingsbury is not interested and is not going to take the Saints head coaching job. So there was some connections there. There was some reports. He's going to stay as the OC, which is smart.
I almost wonder, though.
It's smart.
I don't think he was going to get the job.
Sure.
I wonder if this is you know what? I'm pulling myself out.
Yeah.
It's like, he doesn't think he's going to get the job. Because if he did, I don't know if he would have withdrawn himself. I think this makes him look better and save face a little bit rather than getting the interview and not getting hired.
Yep.
I think McCarthy ends up in New Orleans or Kellen Moore.
I kind of agree with you.
I think it's one of those two, and he knows that.
Yeah. You also brought up something important where you're like, you know, you kind of save face. If Cliff pulls out of the race, he still kind of shows that he has the most value. Let's hypothetically say it's McCarthy, Kellen Moore, Cliff Kingsbury, and then they don't pick him. You know, that could be something that other teams look at next year where I think Cliff's trying to be the next year Ben Johnson.
Or he could just do the Cliff special and say he's going to be the head coach, go down there, and then take another job.
Say deuces on it. That might be the Liam Cohen special now.
F Cliffs in the chat. F Cliff Kingsbury. F that dude.
With that being said, though, this was something that was asked to me because, you know, guys like Hondo, guys like Vincent Bonsignore, they were all reporting that the Raiders, you know, made an offer to Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's agent said that that's not true. Yesterday, Mark Davis also said that we never made an offer towards Ben Johnson. my argument was, because people were like, oh, look, Mitch, Mark Davis said it. It has to be true. Mark Davis also said a lot of things about like Dave Ziegler, Josh McDaniels that also ended up not being true. My point of what I'm going to make is I think Mark said that to save face.
He also said he wasn't going to trade Carr.
Sure. I mean, there was a lot of things that Mark said. My point is, though, I don't want to hear that the Raiders didn't give Ben Johnson a contract offer because Mark Davis said it. Why would Mark admit to giving Ben Johnson a contract when he knew that Ben ended up picking Chicago over the Raiders? Like that was more of my point. That's more of my point.
You're with your new girl. Are you going to be like, yeah, I definitely wanted that other chick?
Exactly.
Like
exactly. No, you're 100% right. I've been getting this all the time of, Mitch, the Raiders never gave anything to Ben Johnson, blah, blah, blah. That might be true, but I'm not going to say that it's true because Mark Davis said it. That's the biggest difference.
That reminds me, my little brother gave a speech at my older brother's wedding, and he was smashed.
Yeah.
And he said to my sister-in-law, you know, you're one of the best women my brother's ever brought around.
Maybe not the best on the wedding day.
One of the best.
One of the best. Nick, what's up, my man? Been seeing that Spytek plans to trade up with either the Titans or the Browns to get a quarterback in the draft. I'm hoping Cam Ward, but it'll probably be Shador. Can you give your best Cohen impression? Duval.
That was bad.
Yeah, let's be real. I like Liam Cohen. If he would have tried to do Raiders, they might have fired him the next day. We were literally joking about it.
I said this.
There's no way we would have been
Mitch
able to keep him.
Liam Cohen's a good candidate. And I said, I'm sorry. He has too stupid of a face. Yeah, I'm just going to.
And then you hear him say Duval.
It's not right. It's not okay. And I'm being super mean and judgmental about it. But I said before, no way the Raiders hire Liam Cohen with that stupid face.
And after the way he said Duval was bad.
Could you imagine if you go, Raiders?
It was bad, dude. Like, let's be honest. Let's keep it a buck here. It was bad, right? It was very, very cringe. If you didn't see it, it's on my Twitter. At MitchellRenz365. Anyway, the rumors around the Titans and the Browns, I don't think are from credited sources is what I'm going to say. I think it's a lot of times people just speculating on what the Raiders could do. I'll be real. I don't want the Raiders to trade up for a quarterback unless that QB's name's Cam Ward. I believe that the QB that they've been looking at is Shador Sanders, where if you told me, Mitch, would you want to trade up for Shador? My answer to that would be no. I actually think that there's a chance Shador could be there at pick number 6. Cam Ward is the dude that I want, no doubt about it. But I think Cam Ward ends up being the number 1 pick based on some of the rumors that we are hearing right now. And because Cam Ward could be the number 1 pick, if he ends up going to the Tennessee Titans, who just brought in a new GM, a new assistant GM as well, and Dave Ziegler, Shador's not going to go to Cleveland. Cleveland then go look at what the hell they're going to do, because I don't think that Travis Hunter is going to go to Cleveland. Like, I don't think Deion's going to allow him to do that. So I think what you're talking about here, the rumors, I don't think they're from a credited source. At least I haven't seen them from a credited source, but I've seen the story that you're talking about. Now, man, I want to make something very clear. The nation is creating a mafia. It's easy to see the 1984 season on this. Allen the Mafia made the Shield relevant again. Mark, sit back and watch your dad's work reinvented. I mean, I'll say okay to that. I don't know what exactly we're talking about here, maybe, but
I don't know who's creating the mafia. I get your sentiment, like they're trying to recreate that 1984 team, but I don't know the parallels that you're bringing to the. Are you saying like Pete Carroll and Spytek are like Al?
No, I mean the only thing that I can possibly think is like I'll call it mafia mindset, where Pete Carroll and John Spytek talked about bringing in players that kind of like that just love football, that are dedicated to the craft, and Maxx Crosby's kind of also in that realm.
Pete Carroll, ultimate football guy.
And that's what they're going to do. They're going, you know what? If you're not a football guy, and if you don't love this sport as much, and if if you're a player that's not putting the time and the effort that a guy like Tom Brady would, put in the time and the effort that Maxx Crosby would, they're going to let you know about it. And if you don't want to be a player, I think, again, I'm not saying Pete Carroll called out Davante Adams, but when you look at everything that happened last season, I do think Pete's message, again, not around Davante, but it's a message that resonated with me where you can be a hell of a football player. We all know Davante Adams is an incredible, incredible, incredible football player. But if you're trying to rebuild something, Everybody needs to be on the same page. And I don't care if you're a Pro Bowler. I don't care if you're the best player. If you're not on the same page, we will move on from you. Maybe that's what you're talking about, because that was one of the things Pete and Spytek kept bringing up, which really resonated with me. Let's go to Lost. What up, man? Why not bring PG in as assistant head coach to groom under Carroll and make Rob the DC, which he has PG to help, win-win for all? The only thing would be, I don't know if this is a win-win for all, because if I'm Patrick Graham, I would make the argument that me being the assistant head coach, losing my defensive coordinator title, and then giving that DC title to Rob Leonard is kind of a demotion, right? Like, I bet you most NFL teams would look at the DC job being the better job to assistant head coach. If this is an option on the table, I'm all aboard it. And I think timing is everything in the NFL, and I don't want to give away one of my shows that I'm going to talk about here. But the fact that the Raiders brought in Patrick Graham and Rob Leonard when they did, I think speaks a lot of volumes. I hear you loud and clear, but I don't see Patrick Graham staying on this team unless he's the defensive coordinator. Now, again, maybe he doesn't get any other jobs in any other situations. But if you're the Raiders, why would you give Rob Leonard the job and not give it to Patrick Graham? I would say the better route of what you're trying to do here is and go, hey, PG, we're going to make you the DC now. Rob, we're going to make you the defensive line coach. In 3 years, when Pete decides to hang it up, Patrick, you're going to be the new head coach. Rob, you're going to be the new defensive coordinator. Let's go to Miles. What up, man? After Spytek's comments about the quarterback, I think Dylan Gabriel is most likely. If Shedeur doesn't fall, he's basically Russell Wilson 2.0, and I can't imagine they believe Shedeur is worth the cause of moving. I mean, Dylan Gabriel was a quarterback that got brought up to me 2 months ago. Now, again, that was in the realm of Tom Telesco conversations. It was based on Tom Brady. I know Tom Brady is intrigued by Dylan Gabriel. And if the Raiders were to bring in somebody like a Russell Wilson, Gabriel could be somebody to keep an eye on because they like his ability to execute a system. And when you listen to Pete Carroll talk, executing a system is important. The Raiders being able to go out there and execute a system is one of the things that they're looking for. Gabriel is absolutely somebody to keep in mind. Albert, no to PG, still some issues, lack of pass rush and turnovers. I guess, Albert, my only question would be to you, if it's not Patrick Graham, who's an upgrade over him? Because I would say Graham did a good job last season. The Raiders were top 3 in rushing yards, passing yards, total yards per game against, top 15 in every category. And you lost a lot of pieces on that defense. You lost the captain and Marcus Epps. You lost for a short amount of time Divine Deablo. You lost Maxx Crosby. You lost Christian Wilkins. You lost Malcolm Kuntz. Like, I hear you, they didn't have pass rush, but when you lose Maxx Crosby, Christian Wilkins, and Malcolm Kuntz, I think that speaks volumes, where one of the things that I look at is player development. Tyree Wilson has gotten better. Ja'Cory Bennett got better. You look at a guy like Caleb Von Chasen, got better. Where you're not wrong. They lacked pressure. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL, forcing turnovers. All of those things are true. But then when he had a healthy team, back in 2023, the Raiders were proven to be one of the best defense, if not the best defense in the NFL underneath Patrick Graham, the final 9 games in 2023. Now, man, worst owner in the league is Jerry Jones. What'd he say again? What a dumbass. This is how you bring in a new head coach. Stephen Jones is no better. Wow. Nepotism, right? I mean, we always complain about how bad of an organization the Raiders are. And right now, we got 1,400 people watching. Who's a better owner, Mark Davis or Jerry Jones? Honest question. I want to know down below. Type M for Mark, type J for Jerry. Because, the Cowboys going out and hiring Brian Schottenheimer is the equivalent of me sitting up here going, the Las Vegas Raiders, they hired Ron Rivera. When the Raiders brought in Rivera, everyone was like, oh, that's a joke. They hired Brian Schottenheimer.
I will say this, and nobody loves Cowboy slander more than me. I'm a huge F the Cowboys guy. But a part of me does feel bad for how bad – this is his first head coach stint, Brian Schottenheimer. Imagine you finally get your promotion, and the entire collective world is like, you suck. It sucks, right? Like,
it does hard. Suck, but at the same time, he's kind of I think he's got the least amount of pressure on him than any Cowboys head coach has ever had on him, because he is going to be cheaper. Nobody expects him to do anything, and when you don't have any expectations, it is what it is. But bro, I'm telling you this right now.
We were talking.
We were watching the press conference today, and they're like, and Jerry Jones. Dude, there was like 4 people that clapped.
No, that was
in
for
that
Stephen
entire
Jones.
bit.
That was for Stephen Jones.
Oh, Stephen Jones.
Dude,
there was like 4 people that clapped.
Wouldn't it be the most Cowboys season ever though if they somehow were like good in the beginning of the season? Everybody was on the hype train. They end the season like with 11 wins and then lose in the wild card round.
Lose in the first round of the playoffs. That's
the most Cowboys season ever.
No, I don't see them making the playoffs.
Like they start off 7-1, and then only win 4 of their other the rest of their games.
They have such a bad roster.
But they also will be playing a easy schedule. They'll be playing.
Is it easy? I mean, they got the Eagles Commanders twice.
Yeah,
that's tough.
That's in division, but I'm saying compared to the Eagles and Commanders, who are going to be facing the tougher teams for their matchups.
I don't know the Cowboys schedule, but you're right now, man. It's a shit show over there. John, Cam Ward seems like
a problem.
Like a problem.
No pro day or no combine.
Why the F do we want him? I want him because I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. That's why I want him. I also look at Cam Ward as a player that has developed. One of the reasons why I was so high on Jaden Daniels last season is because when you looked at him at Arizona State, and then he went to LSU, and he got better and better. And I mean, a lot of the OGs know this. He got better and better and better. And as a quarterback, you got to be able to show that you can put it together up here and that you can learn quickly. Cam Ward was one of those QBs that has that. He also has that cool, calm, and collected nature about him where in the biggest moments, I think the reason why the Chiefs win those close games all the time is because they're cool, calm, and collected because Mahomes is cool, calm, and collected. The Commanders, Jaden's got that cool calmness about him. Jalen Hurts got that cool calmness about him. Tom Brady had that cool calmness around him, right? You need people that have that type of mentality because it can bleed off into your entire team. And Cam Ward, I've watched every game on him this season. That guy never flinches. He's always ready to go, and he's always ready to rock. But I'll also say this, he's not the only quarterback to not throw at pro days, to not throw at the combine, to not do some of that stuff because it could be something that his agent's telling him. I'm always a believer. If you believe in yourself, go out there and show that you're the best guy for the job. But this could be one of those off seasons that, you're not going to see it. Cam probably knows he's the number 1 quarterback. And if he knows he's the number 1 quarterback, and the fact that a report just came out that the Tennessee Titans could actually end up taking him, if you're Cam Ward and a team's already said, hey, we think that we might take you at number 1, you're technically not supposed to have those conversations yet, but let's be real. They happen. Right? They do happen. If you knew that you were going to be a no doubt top 5 pick, if you knew that you were going to be the number 1 quarterback selected, if you knew that you were going to be the number 1 overall pick, would you do these things to risk your chance of not getting it? I hear your statement. The fan, I want to see it too. But from the Cam Ward side, I don't know what information he's being told. Let's go to Alex. People act like he had his starters on defense. I'm with you, Alex. I think anytime I see somebody rip apart PG or say anything bad about this Raiders defense, it makes me want to pull my hair out because I go, was the Raiders defense bad? If you look at points per game, they gave up the 26 most points per game this year. And I get it. If you look at those numbers and just those numbers in a nutshell, you go, how can anybody want Patrick Graham back? But you're right. Lost a lot of starters on defense. At one point, we had 8 out of our 11 starters not on the football field. That's tough to do. You also then go look at what Patrick Graham did 2 years ago with Josh McDaniels, and the Raiders spent the second least amount of money on the defensive side of the football, and that defense was able to get together and play great. Also, PG, everything that he's done with all these different schemes, has done a great job. Patrick Graham is a damn good coach. Noah, sup with the likes. Bro, I don't know what's up with them likes. We got over 1,500 people watching right now. Only 330 likes. We got to get to 500. Once we do, we'll get into our first segment here on today's show.
Like it up!
Now, man, Chugs, don't lose sleep on the Rockets. Jimmy Butler coming. What happens when cancer sets in? It spreads. The cure is no. Be there, Mr. Miyagi.
Good thing the Rockets are not trading for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
I don't think the Rockets make a trade now. They look too good.
Jimmy Butler's slowly turning into Devontae Adams.
Yeah. They look too good to mess with it. Literally the Rockets just beat the 3 best teams in the NBA in the Celtics, the Cavs, and the Thunder.
Though a report just came out from Stein that says the Houston Rockets would like – no?
What does it say?
Am I getting got here? It says the Houston Rockets would like to see how far their current core can go before considering a De'Aaron Fox trade.
Let's go.
I don't know anything about the NBA, but that sounds like it's interesting. I hear trade and I'm in.
So De'Aaron Fox just came out and they said that they're going to look to trade him at the deadline.
Okay.
The star player for the Kings. Rockets are a hot team because they have a lot of guys that they have a ton of young guys and they're really young. They have a lot of draft picks too. But the only thing is all their young guys are playing so well. It's like, do you trade do
you risk giving up that core?
And there's a good feng shui. Like, they're all playing really well together.
I mean, I'm a big, if it's not broken, don't fix it. We'll see how it goes. And if they're playing solid ball, keep it rolling. Let's go to Raider Nation 253. Russell and Metcalf to the Raiders. What are your thoughts? It could happen. I saw a trade out there on the internet around Russell and DK joining the Silver and Black, though I thought the trade was bad on both parts of it. I would say Russell, there's definitely a connection there with Pete Carroll. They look like that they're good. I'd say he's the most likely quarterback to be under center right now for the Silver and Black this upcoming season. And then DK Metcalf, he's got, 1 year left on his deal. He wants a brand new deal. So if you're the Raiders, you'd have to trade for DK. I don't know if you'd have to give up a first-round pick for him. Maybe you give up a second or a third to go out and get him. But then you'd have to give him a brand new contract on top of that. The style of offense that the Raiders run, like DK, I'll say this, would be a really good pairing with a receiver like a Jacoby, with somebody who's got speed with Trey Tucker, the physicality in a JPJ, the athlete that you're looking for in a Brock Bowers, the fact that this team's going to want to run the smash mouth football, and another dude very well respected in NFL circles that simply loves, and I mean loves, Pete Carroll. The De'Aaron Fox preferred landing spot is the Spurs. Would you rather trade for T-Law or Tua?
This is a great question.
If I have to pick between these two,
oh, this is a good question.
I guess I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence, but I'm not trading for either of them. I wouldn't want either of them.
With their contracts and everything right now, give me Tua because I think I can get out of it easier in a year or two, and I think right now he is better.
I don't disagree with. I look at both these QBs as being very similar. I would say Trevor Lawrence has more upside, but the only reason why I'm going Trevor Lawrence is because Tua, to me, is the one that could retire tomorrow. I don't love either of these QB. Neither of these guys is a top 16 QB.
And I'm okay with that because I'd rather, in my mind, I'm like, I'd rather get a bridge Tua than hitch my wagon to T-Law for the next 4 to 5 years. I'd rather have Tua and be like, okay, I'll have him for a year or two. Give me that. We'll have a good quarterback, and then we can find a new guy. I'd rather have Tua and be like, he's our for right now guy than T-Law.
So he's got $0 million guaranteed in 2026.
Exactly.
So essentially you would get Tua for this season, and it would be this season at, again, the Raiders, you're not going to trade for him this year. So if you're the Raiders, the most realistic thing it would be that you trade for Tua Tagovailoa. You get him in 2026 at $39 million, and then you would get him in 2027 at $53, and then you could get him in 2028 at $65.
But you can cut him before then.
But you could cut him because of the guarantees.
Give me Tua, and it's a win-win. If he plays great and he's deserving, maybe I keep him another year. If not, you cut him loose and you can find a new quarterback.
I mean, based off that first contract that I just saw here, and then compared to,
See, if you pick T-Law, you are stuck with him for the next 3 to 4 seasons.
You would be stuck with T-Law. Again, it's not that much. So his cap hit this upcoming year, $17 million, $24 million, $35 million, and then $0 guaranteed for 3 straight years. Dude, I don't know. I think my logic, I agree with you now because I can get out of the Tua contract quicker and because I don't think either guy is great.
I don't like either of them, so in my mind I'm like, which one can I get rid of quicker?
Sure. Yep, I'm going to go 2 of them. A little flapjack. I don't want Pete Carroll to give up the picks that we have to move up. He knows how to build a roster, and I want him to do that with what we have. Again, there's been a lot of speculation around what the Raiders could potentially do in the draft, no doubt about it. But I agree with you where the Raiders aren't going to be a team that overspends to go up and get a quarterback. If there is a deal, they will try to take a deal. where, like, to me, I don't see them giving up multiple first-round picks because, yes, they want to win right away, but this is also an organization that understands the importance of building through the draft. Like, that's what John Spytek has done. Pete Carroll has been somebody that's really done a solid job being able to find quarterbacks late and bringing in quarterbacks free agency that everybody thinks that are, no good anymore. When you look at what Spytek and Carroll have done, it's not a regime that screams to me, we're going to go up and we're going to trade for a quarterback. If anything, it screams the exact opposite of that. Santana, Lonzo underrated. Playmakers like him are rare.
I'm guessing you're talking about Lonzo Ball.
Lonzo Ball.
In Chicago.
I don't know, dude.
I mean, too many injuries. Too many injuries.
Let's go to Raider King 510. Do you think Jackson Dart is worth a second-round pick?
Should I tell them my hot take that I told you earlier?
Mm-hmm.
My hot take, and this is before the combine, before everything. My hot take, Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe both taken in the first round.
We see QBs get bumped up every year, and I think right now recency bias is really, really leaning in favor of Jackson Dart, who, again, like I think he's gonna look good doing he's gonna have a good combine. His most recent game was a solid one. Is he a quarterback I would take in the second round? No. I'm going to be real with you. It's not somebody that I would take in the second round.
All the hype, everything leading up, a team trading up into the 20s to get Jackson Dart.
If it was up to me, if I could take a quarterback that's not Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, the QB I would take is Jalen Milroe. And again, it's because I look at Milroe as a project player in 2 years. You could let him learn behind Russell Wilson, let him learn underneath Tom Brady. And if he can just take a little bit from what those guys teach him and gets a little bit better from throwing a football, you can't teach the athletic ability Milroe has.
Know.
I'm not crazy about Dart, though.
3.5 quarterbacks in the first round, more or less.
3.5?
Or I'll go 2.5.
I'll say 2.5's the number there.
2.5 quarterbacks in the first round. Are you going more? Are you going less?
I'm going to go less.
Only 2?
I really only think that it's going to be Cam and Shedeur. We'll see, though. I mean, I know how it goes. I know how it goes.
That is true. Milroe has tiny hands.
The tiny hands thing will be important for some teams out there.
Same size hands as Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, right around there. But here's the thing, though. Kenny Pickett can't run the rock like Jalen Milroe can.
That's a huge difference.
Agent Red's going to go more. Can't walk says more.
Nav, man.
5th-year option. What up, Nav? Wax on, wax off, Yoda, my brother. This is a wax off year. Build the monster today. It has begun. I suspect lots of moves soon. The Raiders are going to be aggressive this offseason, and one of the things that also Pete Carroll made it very clear, they are not going to rebuild. This is a team that they're going to go out and win right away. But that shouldn't surprise anybody. Pete Carroll's going to be 74 years old, right? Like, he doesn't have time for the rebuild. You get a guy like Carroll to come out or leave, I was going to say come out of retirement, to leave Seattle, get another head coaching job, it's because he wants to win right away. And this is going to be an aggressive offseason for the Raiders. What up, Steven? Quarterback Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt.
He's one of those college quarterbacks where he's good in college. I don't see it translating to the NFL.
He is literally Dollar General Johnny Manziel. You can't, he is a fun player, going to be a really fun quarterback. He was a great guy to watch in college. Good story to root for him. But at the end of the day, no.
We also,
that's a no.
We're 30 likes away from starting our first segment. We just need 30 more likes.
Hit a go. Run it up, man. What up, Born Raider fan? Most realistic team to trade up for Sanders/Cam Ward. I would say the team that's the most likely to do it is the New York Giants. They're sitting there at pick number 3. They need a quarterback. Cam Ward, Shedeur, both people that, that organization has been linked to. They know that they need somebody new. They don't have Daniel Jones, obviously, anymore. And just because it's easier to move up from 3 into the top 2 than it is 6, I would say the top 2 teams that would trade up for a quarterback are the New York Giants and the Raiders. Because the Giants are at 3, the Raiders are at 6, I'd say the most likely team's the Giants. So that's me. We got another one coming in here from Miles. What's up, Miles? Though, how about this? We did just cross 500 likes. I see a super chat from Miles Gutierrez and Raiders King. We will get into all of those things here in just a moment. but I do want to get into the very first segment here on today's Raiders Report show. If you want to pick a DC, because we're going to talk about some of these candidates here, let me know down below from these names that you see who you would pick to be the Raiders defensive coordinator, because we're going to talk about Patrick Graham, briefly talk about Carl Scott, Rob Leonard, but we're really going to talk a lot about Maxx Crosby. That's all coming up here on today's show. Mike, Yoda, appreciate all y'all tuning in. Brandon, Jive, I see you. I rock with you. Yep, game time for the first one. All right, y'all. So coming up here on today's show, we're going to get into the Raiders news and rumors that I think all of y'all need to know. We good? Yep. Yep. Y'all ready? Coming up, let's get into the very first segment here on the Raiders Report. I got 3 stories for the entire nation out there. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report. The first one is this. What is the latest on Patrick Graham? Is he going to be coming back to the silver and black? Second story here on today's show. Who are the top candidates for the DC job for the Raiders that maybe Pete Carroll wants to hire? And then the last and probably the reason why you clicked on this video is a Maxx Crosby extension coming soon. Where there's smoke, there is fire. And there's a lot of smoke right now happening around number 98. We'll get to the Maxx Crosby story here in a moment. That's going to be the very, very last story we do here on today's show. But I said this last week. The Raiders Report is about hustling. And if you want commitment to excellence every single day, make sure you click that subscribe button. Last year, we went live for 575 hours. We've already gone live for 61 and a half hours, though now technically 62 hours. We are on pace for somewhere around 738 hours of live content in the year of 2025. If you love chopping it up, talking Raiders, 100% free, hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Let's get in here to the first, though, around Patrick Graham and what's the latest around the Raiders DC. So Graham interviewed with the Jaguars on Monday, January 27th, for their open defensive coordinator job. For those of you that don't remember, PG was also requested to interview to be the head coach of the Jags last week, but Jacksonville decided to go with Liam Cohen. Remember that whole debacle on Wednesday? PG was supposed to interview on Thursday, the day that Liam Cohen ended up getting the gig. Then requested interview for the Raiders head or defensive coordinator job. This one happened yesterday, also on Monday, January 27th. The fact that Graham was the runner-up in Cincinnati and the fact that he's taken head coach interviews, defensive coordinator interviews for the past 2 straight seasons, that speaks volumes. It speaks volumes because he's a well-respected man in this industry. But at the same time, if you're Patrick Graham right now, you're going, do I want to keep the Raiders job? Or if I have the opportunity, do I take the Jacksonville Jaguars job? Because as it stands right now, the people that have interviewed for the Jags DC job are as follows. Anthony, I'm not even going to, the linebacker coach, Aubrey Pleasant, Patrick Graham, Campanelli, and then Durante Jones. So you can see a few different candidates, and I know there's always going to be people that go, well, Mitch, Patrick Graham was just a Rooney Rule guy. We got to stop saying that. PG is way too good of a coach to call him a Rooney Rule interview. But also, Aubrey Pleasant, Patrick Graham, and Jones, they're also minority coaches. So, it could have been a legit interview, and he is a finalist for a reason. He's in the Final Four. So here's going to be the pinned comment on today's show, because there is real competition for Patrick Graham. And if the Raiders want him, I think that they got to show him that they want him. Give me a yes, give me a no. Do you want the Raiders to bring back Patrick Graham? My answer is going to be this. Patrick Graham is a great coach, and I would love him back. And if he's the top candidate for the job, then my answer is yes. The objective every single offseason for every NFL team needs to be, did we get better? Are we getting better? Are we improving in the offseason? If Patrick Graham's the top candidate, you bring him back. If you have the opportunity to go get somebody better, and I know Robert Saleh took the job for the 49ers, but that would have been a name where I go, all right, maybe we consider bringing in Robert Saleh instead of Patrick Graham. But look at the Raiders' defense last season. Again, yards is where I want you to look, because when you look at points per game, it's skewed by the amount of 3-and-outs and the amount of turnovers that the offense threw. I get it. The Raiders' takeaways were low, but when you really think about the amount of injuries, the amount of lack of depth, all the different regimes that Patrick Graham has had to work with. He is a really, really good candidate, and the Raider fans would be lucky to have him as a DC. On top of that, though, you pair Patrick Graham with somebody like Pete Carroll. Maybe you let PG learn a little bit under Carroll. Once Carroll ends up hanging him up, Graham's your new head coach, and then that also could be a way that you could keep Rob Leonard and make him the new DC. I'm just saying, it's something that I would talk with Mark Davis and Tom Brady about. Let's get into the second story here. Who the hell are the candidates for the DC job? At this current moment, there are only 3 names that the nation needs to know in terms of who could be the next Raiders defensive coordinator. Will there be other names that pop up? Yes, absolutely. No doubt about it. The 3 names as it stands right now are Patrick Graham, who we just mentioned. I talked about Rob Leonard yesterday and in a video that I put out bright and early this morning. The other name is Carl Scott. If you don't know why I'm very proud of the Raiders, it's because so many years in the years past, they always look to bring in the big name. This list of 3 candidates here is proof that this organization is doing a great job. Because none of those names, I would say, in NFL circles is a sexy name. Patrick Graham, great coach. Rob Leonard, very, very respected coach. Carl Scott, another well-respected coach. So even though they might not have the big name, those are the type of dudes that you bring in for long-term success to be able to learn underneath somebody like Pete Carroll. I love that those 3 names are there. But what did I say in the beginning of the show? Y'all probably clicked on this video to see what I'm talking about with Maxx Crosby. Timing is everything in the NFL. Where there's smoke, there is fire. And if you're somebody that wants a Maxx Crosby extension to happen, I got some good news coming up for you here in just a little bit, and we'll talk about what that news is because a lot of smoke is indicating that Maxx Crosby is about to get an extension. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We'll talk about all that here in a moment, but today's show is sponsored by GameTime. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guarantee, and if you're somebody that's trying to get tickets to the big game, then download the GameTime app right now and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime today. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. What time is it? It's game time. If you are looking for tickets, whether it's a basketball, whether it's a football, whether it's a hockey game, maybe it's a comedy, maybe it's a show, going out to Las Vegas, there's so much stuff to do, dude. Like, there's so much stuff to do. And because there's so many things to do, I kind of have like FOMO where I feel like I'm going to miss out on a good deal. I feel like I'm going to miss out on a good opportunity. If you got FOMO and you don't ever want to miss out, download the GameTime app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS. Now, if you are looking for tickets, you got to look at the GameTime picks, and you got to check out the all-in price, and that way you don't get hit with crazy checkout fees when you're going to leave. I use GameTime, Chug uses GameTime, and I think that y'all are going to love GameTime. That link's down in the comments, down in the description here on the Raiders Report. So it's Maxx Crosby extension coming soon. I believe that the Raiders are getting close to getting a deal done with number 98. I am not a reporter. I am not somebody sitting up here trying to report the news. I am simply somebody that I look at connections, I look at rumors, I look at things that are happening, and that's why I always say where there's smoke, there's fire, and I believe there is a lot of smoke right now indicating that Maxx Crosby is going to get an extension soon. If you didn't see, Crosby was at the press conference yesterday with Pete Carroll, with John Spytek, looked very happy to be there. I think also was, really trying to listen to see what those guys had to say. If Maxx wasn't there, that would have been an issue. The fact that Crosby was there tells me that he wants to make this right. And I know for a fact Crosby wants to make it right, but a lot of other things need to happen. So with Crosby being there, that's a good thing. I also know that Crosby wants to be a Raider long-term. The Raiders want to keep him around long-term. I also saw a report from Hondo Carpenter, and again, when you get reports from Raiders beat writers, I get it. We got to take it with a grain of salt. It's just the truth. But when I hear something, I see something, and then I see something being reported, that's where my mind starts to go, all right, this is where we got to take this and we got to look at it considerably. And the fact that Hondo said Maxx is priority one, that is also aligned with a lot of the things that I saw and that I believe. So here's why I think a Crosby extension is coming, and here's why I'm saying smoke and fire. First off, Pete Carroll and John Spytek are hired. The fact that these 2 guys are in place now, that means the ball is in motion. When they're sending people down to Mobile, Alabama to get ready for the Senior Bowl, this team has already got the motion going forward for 2025. And I know for a fact they want to get Maxx Crosby to pen and paper because not only do you get Crosby to pen and paper doesn't help out your football team, it's also proof. And Raider Nation needs proof. Players need proof. Because if you give Maxx Crosby an extension, it proves stability. And if you're going to bring in new players, if you're going to bring in new coaches, it's going to prove everything that Pete Carroll and everything that, somebody like John Spytek were saying at their press conference. Talk is cheap. Let's go out there and show in action. Because if you give Maxx Crosby that extension and you prove that you're going to go out there and show stability, that is a great way to show everybody in your organization that you're trying to win now. If you let Maxx Crosby walk, I don't know how many people are going to go that this team's trying to win now. I get it. You can make an argument that if you're trying to rebuild, trading away Maxx Crosby makes sense, but then that goes against everything that y'all just said in your press conference. So putting pen to paper with Crosby shows that you're serious about winning now. It shows stability for players and organization standpoint. It shows also that you're going to bring in a leader and you're trying to build a team that's got that, like, Tom Brady, Mamba mentality, right? Like Kobe Bryant mentality, Maxx Crosby mentality, guys that just love football. How can you let Maxx Crosby go and then say that I want guys that just love football? Maxx is a Raider, and if you're trying to build it, putting him in a long-term connection and extension makes a lot of sense. But I'll tell you this, if you're trying to prove to players of why they should come in, I think it would be a bad look on the organization if you let Crosby go, because if I'm a star player, I'm going, if they didn't bring back Maxx, who meant everything to that team, why would I go there? Because I don't know if I'm going to get that long-term deal. Let's go to another reason. The Patrick Graham, Rob Leonard interviews. The timing of this is just impeccable to me. And I say that because you knew for a fact that Pete Carroll, John Spytek were going to talk to the media on Monday. Reports start coming out that the Raiders are going to interview Patrick Graham and Rob Leonard for their open defensive coordinator job. That also happened on Monday. Maxx Crosby is in the building on Monday. Crosby wants stability. Crosby, I'm telling y'all right now, wants Patrick Graham, wants Rob Leonard on this defensive coaching staff. He wants somebody like a Rick Slate in that strength and conditioning room to stay as well. Maxx is a dude that is on a system. He's on a warpath, but he also knows a lot of the people that have helped him get to where he is. And if you're trying to prove stability, if you're the Raiders and you keep Patrick Graham and Rob Leonard, that's going to make Maxx a very happy individual. If you don't keep them, then that proves a little bit less stability for Maxx, could lead to him leaving. If you want to keep Maxx, if you keep those two guys, the chances of it go way, way up. The cryptic tweet conversation, and I know, I don't know The Sopranos, I don't know Scarface. It's going to have to be something that I watch, but if you didn't see the video that I put out earlier in the week, it was around this cryptic tweet. I'll admit, my Rick Slate take is not right. It was a swing and a miss on my part, but that's what happens when you throw out cryptic tweets. But I reached out to Maxx, and I said, all right, bro, like, talk to me about this, right? Maxx and I are good. We go way back type of thing. But I also was like, so tell me then, if it's not a cryptic, what exactly is going on here with this? And talking to him, he seemed like he was in good spirits over the weekend. My conversation with Crosby, again, happened before the Spytek and Pete Carroll whole conversation happened. This happened over the weekend. And he seemed like somebody that was in good spirits. He told me, life is great, brother. No mixed messages over here at all. He also told me that he understands that, I'm trying to do my job. And through my conversations that I've had with Maxx, I feel like I can tell really quickly when something's bothering him. And I think a lot of y'all can too, because he's somebody that wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's not afraid to tell you exactly what's on his mind. But he flat out told me, y'all dig too deep, and that I was just digging too much on that cryptic tweet. When you also, though, look at the timing of that cryptic tweet, I think it was more about the money aspect side of it. And in the video that I did over the weekend was about Maxx Crosby wants to get paid. And he's not a dummy. He knows when they go out and hire Pete Carroll and John Spytek, the wheels are moving. So if the wheels are moving, Maxx is probably already having those conversations about him wanting to go out and get a contract. So I think that that's the reason why that message was put out there. Not that he wants to get traded, but it's all right, let's go out there and let's show him that we're trying to move in the right direction. So the hiring, the tweet, the fact that Crosby's there, the interviews all around Rob Leonard, all the interviews around, Patrick Graham, it's all stacking up that I believe the Crosby extension is going to happen sooner rather than later. Why? He's got $0 million guaranteed on his last 2 years of his contract, and he's made it clear on his podcast. He's made it clear on other TV shows. He has made it very clear this offseason. He wants a new deal. And if the Raiders are unwilling to give him a new deal, guess what? He's going to look elsewhere. And I don't know if I necessarily can blame him, and I say that because you can't blame him for all the bullshit that he's been through for the Raiders organization. At the same time, though, as a Raider fan, I kind of want you to nut up here a little bit and kind of ride or die with us. In terms of the contract details around Max, here are his cap numbers. $28.2 million in 2025, $24.8 million in 2026. Again, $0 million guaranteed on his contract. Also, what's interesting, though, is he's got 3 void years from 2027 to 2029. That means the Raiders are going to be paying him those 3 years, and it's happened because of already all of the contract restructures that the Raiders have done with Max. Here's what I would do to make Max happy. To me, you got 2 different deal ideas. Your first deal is this. You give him a raise and you give him a 1-year contract extension, very similar to what the Rams gave Aaron Donald, where they said, all right, man, I'm just going to give you 3 years fully guaranteed. And the number that I would do for Max to make him happy, 3 years, $98 million fully guaranteed. So the number that he's got right now, Jeremy, are you laughing at the 98? So I laugh at the 98 too, but if you remember, Max's first deal, 4 years, $98.98 million. That 98 number is a very important number to Max, and it's going to stay very important. But this is interesting because this then ties Crosby to 3 years. 3 years is what they ended up doing with somebody like Pete Carroll. This is option 1. The other contract that if I was the Raiders that I would offer Max is a little bit of a longer-term one, and it is a 4-year extension connecting Crosby to the Raiders for 5 years, which ties the 5-year with John Spytek. Though I would structure Crosby's contract the way that the Raiders did with Devontae Adams. Remember when they did that? The Devontae contract was 5 years, $140 million, but there was an out after 3 seasons. If you're the Raiders and you want to provide stability and you want to prove that you're really serious about moving forward, put Maxx Crosby, tie him to I was going to call him John Carroll. Tie him to Pete Carroll and John Spytek. 3-year deal, fully guaranteed up front, tying him to Carroll. And then if Crosby's still doing well, you're willing to pay him the bigger numbers and the back half of that deal with somebody also tied with somebody like John Spytek. But if it doesn't work, you can move on from Crosby. You can move on from your head coach. You still have John Spytek. And then that way you're moving on from a big deal and Crosby at age 30, and then you're trying to rebuild with whoever the new head coach is. That's the style of deal that I would do. The numbers that I put out there also represent some of the highest paid defensive ends in the league. The number that I have been told, not by Crosby's team, the number that I have been told in general is $30 million per year is the number that Maxx Crosby is looking for. All of those reasons, head coach hiring, GM hiring, the interviews for Rob Leonard, the interview for Patrick Graham tells me that a Maxx Crosby extension is going to be happening sooner rather than later. So how are we feeling, man? I mean, a lot of different things out there around Max. Next segment we're going to get into here and a little bit later on is going to be around some free agents, so we can talk about some free agents to sign. The live poll that I put up there was, will Max be a Raider in 2025? 92% of y'all said yes to that. Are you more confident or less confident that Max is going to be a Raider after everything that I just talked about? More or less? M for more, L for less.
Let's go more.
More? I hope so. I mean, that was the point of it, where
the reason why I'm so confident isn't as much because of what you were saying of obviously all that stuff runs with it.
Yep.
I just don't know if I'm another team, what team is willing to give up what he's worth.
Sure.
Because what he's worth right now is multiple first-round picks.
And I think that's the other problem, where if you value something a lot, where I feel like Maxx Crosby is it's kind of like the watch that maybe your, I don't know, dead grandfather gave you. I know it's sentimental, but it's something like where you can't put a price on it. And to me, Maxx Crosby is one of those players right now for the Raiders where we want 2 first-round picks, at least, right? If I did a trade right now that was around Maxx Crosby and a first-round pick wasn't involved, I think y'all would go absolutely berserk. But then you look at a lot of other teams out there and, they might not try to offer you a first-round pick for Max because in their mind, they want a brand-new deal. He's got no guaranteed left. And if you prove that you're not going to extend Max, then that's going to be obvious to NFL teams, and then you're not going to get the price that you want. Yeah. I'm telling you this right now, there will be teams obviously interested in Max, and there's going to be teams calling. But I don't know if you get 2 first-round picks if Max goes, I want to be traded. And the only way Max says, I want to be traded is if you offer him a contract or you don't offer him a contract. He's going to want to get paid. And I know we have a lot of money in salary cap, but I think the other thing that people need to realize is a lot of that money in salary cap can be used on keeping players that we already have. Let's go to Miles. What up, man? Gabriel wins, though, compared to Dart and Milroe. Are you just saying Dylan Gabriel wins and Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe don't win?
Yeah, I guess he's saying Gabriel's a winner. Even though Milroe at Alabama has won probably more than Gabriel has at Oklahoma and Oregon.
Well, that's my point. Like Dylan, yes, he did win this past year at Oregon, but then his previous years he didn't. Like I would look at Dylan Gabriel's. Like if you want Gabriel, you probably also were like a fan of Bo Nix, where it's all going to come down to where they land. Like the destination is way more important than the player itself. And that's how you got to look at it, I think, with Gabriel. Like, Gabriel should probably want to come to the Raiders because of our current situation. Gutierrez. LaDiddy James need to retire. That's what, LeBron is my guess?
Yeah, you know.
I do, but I also don't. Raider King, Dart reminds me of Josh Allen. I don't know how that comparison can be made. And I only say that because Jackson Dart is way, way skinnier than what Allen was. Allen's a better athlete. Allen's a better runner. I'll admit, Dart might have been a better prospect coming out of college. But in terms of, like, similarities, I don't see that one at all. That's going to be one that's going to I'll have to go look at. But no, I don't see that one at all. Dart reminds me more of his style, more of like a Bo Nix. Mariano B, Justin Fields, and Chip Kelly. I think it would be fun. Like, if you brought in Chip Kelly to be the OC, I would love it. Out of the names that have already been mentioned for the Raiders, which has been like a Bo Hardigree, David Shaw, Darrell Bevel, those all three names were on the video that I did this morning. I would love Chip Kelly out of those names. Like Bevel, I would say right now is the front runner to do it. But Fields is a great, great athlete. You can't deny that. It would be an intriguing offense. It would be a cheap offense that the Raiders could run. How about that? If you want them to go cheap, this could be a solution. Though, if we're looking at Steelers quarterbacks, I don't think it's Fields. What up, God Family? Mitch, thank you for the package, says delivers. Did you get it? Yep, I've just been waiting on you to pop in here. Thank you so much, dude, for what you sent. At first, I didn't know what it was. He was the one that sent us the package, God, Family, and Raiders for Life. So, if you want me to use it on Thursday, we might end up doing a show. I don't know if I've seen Venthrak here yet. I wanted to make a little announcement around Venthrak, though if he's not here, I'm not going to do it. But yes, got the package. It's dope, man. The glass was super sick. And then the hat. Is the hat like just for me to have, or is the hat as hey, you should give the hat away to somebody on the Raiders Report? I didn't know what to do exactly, but yes. The only reason why I say the hat, and again, greatly, greatly appreciate it, I kind of have the same one. So that's the only thing. I have another hat that's got like, it's literally the same hat. It's just different maker of the hat. So that's why I wanted to ask. But anytime you guys send us stuff, dude, it's probably one of the most humbling things that I could probably have. So how quick can we sign Spillane? To me, that's the best sign for Pete and Spytek moving in the right direction. We'll talk about Robert Spillane. It's going to be a segment that I do a little bit later on.
Skip this one.
What happened in the middle of the cut? Bang! My man! So, we'll talk about Robert Spillane. Literally one of the segments that I have here on today's show is my top 5 Raiders free agents that I would re-sign. You will see Robert Spillane's name in that video. Now, man, stoked about Live Thursday. Venthrak, my bro, love it. I hope I can be there. All the real ones need to be there Thursday when I take time off work for a real one. It is epic. Tune in for that. Tuna, love you, bro. Stay strong and keep fighting. So, long story short, Chugs and I, we usually go live in the regular season on Thursdays for Thursday Night Football. We get a little bit crazy. We're going to do a special live show this Thursday. We're going to start it at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. We're going to run the show like we kind of do like a regular Raiders Tuesday live, and we'll have segments. We'll kind of do all that. But then the final hour is going to be shit show. And I say shit show because I want to induct a new member to Mount Raidermore. His name is Venthrak. He has banked more this year already than anybody. He has been somebody a part of the Silver and Black Hills for over 2 years now. He's been somebody that always rocks with us on the show. And quite frankly, I got a deal for Venthrak that he has the opportunity to become a Mount Raidermore on Thursday. So we're going to do all the normal Raiders content that we do, but then we're also, for an hour, we're going to get after it, and we're going to have a hell of a time. So if you want to watch the regular Raiders content side, tune in for the first, I'd say, 90 minutes of that show. The last hour, if you're trying to get a little bit wet and wild, then tune in for the last hour of that show. Shout out to you, though, Nav, man. It's going to be a hell of a time. Though, Nav, after Venthrak, you're next up. Lamont, why not Zach Wilson with right a bye, please?
It's like at the wedding when you throw the bouquet, Navman's the guy who catches
it. I guess my question is, why would you want Zach Wilson, Lamont? Why? Tell me the why. Because I can't give one good reason of why anybody would want Zach Wilson to be their quarterback, right? Like, if you wanted to bring him in to be a backup, cool, that's fine. But you're bringing him in to be a backup when you already have a decent enough backup in Aiden. I don't need any more backup quarterbacks on this roster. I need people that I could see being starting caliber QBs. And Zach, the other thing is, Wilson's never been a quarterback that I've liked. Coming out of BYU, somebody was pretty low on, didn't love the fit over there in New York. So this just seems like a wasted move to me, where you could invest your money in better areas. Let's go to Akash. Would you take A-Rod for 1 year for cheap? No. There is nothing about Aaron Rodgers that speaks stability. Quite frankly, Aaron Rodgers is the opposite of stability. I don't know how you bring in a 42-year-old guy that got everything he possibly wanted in New York. He did. He got everything he wanted. And that team was an absolute dumpster fire.
He got the head coach fired. He got whatever wide receiver he wanted. They traded for Devontae.
To me, there is nothing that this organization could do that would be dumber than to bring in Aaron Rodgers, because he's not the fun guy, right? Like, he is the exact opposite of the type of dude Pete Carroll is. I don't want Aaron Rodgers. If Rodgers was willing to play for $1.2 million, then I would consider it. Azul, Will Howard is like Josh Allen, underrated. Yeah,
Josh Allen was taken in the top 10.
I just don't see the comparison at all. Like, Will Howard's not the athlete Josh Allen is. Josh Allen also had way, way stronger of an arm. Allen's mechanics were just horrendous. Like, they were bad. And when you go back and you watch a lot of film on Allen, and I want you to go back and watch it, he looked like a quarterback that was trying to throw through 40-mile-an-hour winds at Wyoming. The more and more tape I watch on him, he looks like a dude always trying to overthrow. And because he's always overthrowing, then in a normal game was just used to the muscle memory aspect of overthrowing and would just let ball sail. Once he learned that he didn't have to do that all the time, he was able to clean it up. But again, had a good coach. Brian Deablo helped him in order to do that. Let's go to Raider King. What up, man? Mitch, go watch film on Jackson Dart. The problem is, I've watched every game on Jackson Dart. I've watched almost every snap on Dart. And I don't come away feeling confident about Dart. There's some good games in there. When I watch the Dart film, it reminds me of many players.
I think the film, after the fact, I think everything with that, the combine and his pro day, like I said, my hot take, Milroe and Dart will go round 1 in the draft this season.
We'll see. Again, I think the system that he runs is a very simple one at Ole Miss. Like Bo Nix did, he's got to fall in the perfect system for him, which, don't get me wrong, there could be a system in place here for Dart, and I'd be intrigued to see it. But I think he's going to get overdrafted because of that final game, which reminded me of Sam Darnold. Not similar talent-wise, but I'm not crazy about Dart. What do you think, or what about Kirk under Pete now as our quarterback? Talking about Kirk Cousins? We're going to talk about Cousins today.
That actually fits perfectly.
We're going to talk
with
about
what
Cousins.
We're about to talk right now. We're actually caught up on Super Chat, so I think this is a perfect time to head into our next segment where we'll actually be talking about exactly what you're talking about.
So coming up here on the Raiders Report, the next segment that we are going to get into is going to be all around some of the quarterback rumors that Pete Carroll kind of brought up in his press conference. because to me, I thought of two things. The first was bad news for Aiden and Gardner. If you want a bridge quarterback, to me, that sounds like the way that the Raiders are going to go is probably a little bit more with a bridge. What's up, Venthrak? Home from work at last. Venthrak, this Thursday. Can you show the Nabman Super real quick? Venthrak, this Thursday, are you available? We are going to do a live show at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Are you available on Thursday? And the reason is this. I want to do a Venthrak into Mount Raidermore show on Thursday where we're going to do everything that we usually do on Tuesdays, normal, like cover probably 2 to 3 segments. And then the last hour of that show is a absolute shit show, happy hour style of show. And if we party crazy enough like I think that we're gonna, you would end up getting in Mount Raidermore. So, you said you sent me a message on Venmo already? I know I messaged you this morning. I guess I just didn't see it. Okay, how about this, Venthrak? What I'll end up doing is we won't start the party because he's saying he's going to be at work. But he does get back at 4:30 Eastern Time. So you'll be good, dude. We won't start the Venthrak celebration until afterwards. But Thursday, Venthrak, I'm going to give it 3 just win babies is getting into Mount Raidermore. All right, y'all, coming up here on the show, let's talk about some of these QB rumors around Pete Carroll. This one's going to be PrizePicks. And I'll kind of go through my idea of the show. I think it's going to be one that y'all are going to like because we're going to talk about a lot of quarterbacks. Also, though, 1,600 people. If we get to 1,000 likes by the time I'm done with this segment, that's a huge, huge thank you to Jeremy Chugs and I. Coming up here on the Raiders Report, let's look at some of these Pete Carroll quarterback rumors because when I heard what our new head coach had to say at his press conference, I had 2 big thoughts. First thought was this. What exactly is going to happen with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell? I'll give you a prediction on that. And then it made me think bridge quarterback vibes. So who are the top 5 quarterbacks to be the bridge quarterback for the Silver and Black next season? All of that coming up here on today's show. If you missed the latest around Carroll and these quarterback rumors, though, he talked a lot about them yesterday at the press conference. And Pete was the one that was given a lot more questions compared to the GM, John Spytek. But he said, quote, our mission to build this football team around the quarterback position. And typically, new regimes usually means you're going to bring in a new quarterback, especially when your quarterback is Aiden O'Connell, who's a backup and doesn't have any long-term money tied to him. If you missed the exact quote from Pete, this is what he had to say. It is our mission to build this football team up around the quarterback position. This isn't the only spot. We happen to have the greatest of all time to help us, and to see clearly, we were going to lean on Tom as much as possible. Can he give us the insights? Because nobody has the insight that he has. He's that unique. But the quarterback position is one of the positions on the team, and we've got to make it a fit together well. So when you look at what Pete said, when you look at what the Raiders have done, they moved on from Antonio Pierce because that's one of the things Tom Brady wanted to do. Moved on from Tom Telesco. That was one of the things Tom Brady wanted to do. Everything that the Raiders are preaching right now tells me that a new quarterback is going to be coming in and a new regime is going to be coming in and all the old is going to be out. So when I hear that, I go, it's probably bad news for Aiden O'Connell. It's probably bad news for Gardner Minshew. So coming up, I'm going to give you my prediction of what the Raiders are going to do around Minshew and around AOC. And let's be real. We already kind of know what's going to happen here around Gardner Minshew. I think a lot of y'all are more or less just tuning in to see what my prediction is around AOC because I've also said this. At $1.2 million, Aiden is a good backup quarterback in the league, and good NFL teams have good backups. And the fact that he has got 17 starts underneath his belt, 20 games played, you could do a lot worse at having a backup quarterback than Aiden O'Connell. But if you're wondering, Mitch, why the heck should I subscribe to the Raiders Report? We do free videos every single day. We are on pace right now for 739 hours of live content this year. That's a lot of time. We're also going to be doing a special live this Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Tune in. We'll Ventrack, get into Mount Raider more. And then interactive Raiders analysis. I can shout out Alex. I can shout out Javier. I can give a shout out to Rebel Montana. We do interactive shows all the time, but that's what makes this show different. It's a lot more than a show. It's a community. So let's talk about the first guy here. It's Gardner Minshew. My prediction is this. He's not returning. If the Raiders figure out a way to keep Minshew, then I'm going to go, what the hell are you doing, Tom? What the hell are you doing, Pete? What the hell are you doing, Spytek? Like, it doesn't make any sense to keep Gardner Minshew back, and the Raiders are going to move on from Guard Dog. His 2025 cap is $14 million. If a team were to trade for him, it's going to look somewhere around $11.8 million would be the new team. Here's the thing. Nobody's going to pay Gardner Minshew $11.8 million. When you look at the pre and you look at the post dead hits, I'll say it does make more sense for the Raiders to trade him after June 1st, but that's not going to happen. It's either going to be the Raiders trade him pre-June 1st or they are going to cut him post-June 1st. And I say that because of the money that is saved. If you cut Minshew, if nobody trades for him, it doesn't really make sense to cut him pre, and you're going to eat 7.6, where you could do somewhat what the Raiders did last season with Jimmy Garoppolo. Reminder, you get 2 post-June 1st cut candidates. Minshew can be one of those. You save 9.3. That's the route that I think what's going to happen. So if I had to say, Mitch, what's my prediction on Minshew? The percentage chance of him being on the Raiders, it's a big old fat 0. Cut by the Raiders, I'll say 90%. I might even want to make this 95%. And then traded is 10. I would say really maybe the only teams that would even entertain the idea is somebody that has worked with Minshew in the past. Maybe somebody like the Indianapolis Colts where he was a Pro Bowler just in 2023. And they go, you know what? We need a backup quarterback. That's somebody that I would trade for. But 100% not going to be on the Raiders. In terms of Aiden O'Connell, he's got a cap hit of $1.2 million. If he's traded, the Raiders save $903K. They eat only $255. So at the end of the day, trading's not going to make any sense for financial reasons. You either trade Aiden or you don't, and you do it for the player. You don't do it to save money. You don't do it for any reason besides that. He does have 2 years left on his rookie contract, and I would say that an NFL team out there would look at that and go, he has started in 17 games. He's played in 20 games. He's worked under tons of different coaches, tons of different quarterback coaches, tons of different OCs. And because he's got 2 years left, I could see a team being going, you know what? That's a quarterback that I would potentially trade for. And quite frankly, I don't know if Aiden's going to be back on the team next season. So how about this question? Give me a yes, give me a no. This will be the pinned comment here on today's episode. Will AOC be on the Raiders next season? My answer is going to be after this YouTube ad break. I'll simply say that I believe that Aiden is a 50-50 coin flip to be on this roster. I do believe that the Raiders will try to trade him this offseason to get value because he's too good to be a quarterback 3. Good enough to be a QB 2. And when I think what the Raiders are going to do is they are looking at bridge quarterback. Aiden's already a bridge, so it doesn't make sense to have 2 bridges. It makes sense to have 1 bridge and then have another quarterback learning underneath Russell Wilson, maybe learning underneath the Kirk Cousins, learning underneath whoever journeyman quarterback they could bring in. But they are going to add an upgrade. And no disrespect to Aiden, they are going to add one of those upgrades in free agency or it being the draft. So if you know Aiden's not going to be that QB2, you could then ship him off. To me, there are many teams that would show interest. And when I say many, again, he is a good backup quarterback, and that is an important role in the NFL. The teams that are the most likely to do it, to me, are the Miami Dolphins and the Patriots. Josh McDaniels, he was a part of the regime that drafted Aiden here. He's now in New England, and they need a backup quarterback there for Drake May. The Miami Dolphins, this is another team that has been kind of shot in the foot, not having a reliable backup for Tua. The Titans have Bo Hardigree right now. We'll kind of see how that works out. The Seahawks, maybe the Raiders trade Aiden there. You get Geno Smith in a swap. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, just because of, again, the connections we have, and Aiden could be a good backup to Baker Mayfield. In terms of being on the team, I'm going to go 50% chance that he's on the Raiders, 50% chance that he's traded. The silver and black will not cut him. It does not make sense to cut Aiden because he's got way too much playing experience, and if you cut him, he's going to get swept up by another NFL team ASAP Rocky. So with all this being said, I believe that Pete Carroll is more than likely going to try to move on from Aiden in a trade. They are 100% going to move on from Gardner Minshew via cut or trade if anybody's dumb enough to trade for him. But then I see them going with a bridge quarterback. I see them adding somebody either in a trade or via free agency. And coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you the top 5 quarterbacks for Pete Carroll. Before we get into it, though, the big game, it's right around the corner, and PrizePicks is here for the nation. You can get $50 when you play $5, and you don't even need a win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. The big game is almost here, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last football game of the season with PrizePicks, the best place to win cash while watching the big game. PrizePicks is also giving away a free pick for the big game where one of the starting quarterbacks will only need to throw 1 yard to win. If you're correct on at least one more stat projection, you can win cash. I'll admit, taking anything for Patrick Mahomes on the more, it's tough to do. But at the same time, I'm here to put money in y'all's pocket. And if you're going to end up watching the big game anyway, you might as well put some money in your pocket. Take the more on Patrick Mahomes and then look at some other player for the Eagles. Maybe you could find Saquon Barkley touchdown, a Jalen Hurts rushing yards more or less. You can go a lot of different options. And I know that we are a nation and it stinks looking at the Mahomes and picking the more. But you're going to watch the game anyways. You might as well allow Mahomes to put some money in your pocket because I know that guy's already got enough money in his pocket. So, one more time, download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Those links are down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. So let's get into the top 5 quarterbacks here for Pete Carroll. And I'm going to do this segment probably multiple times on this show where I'll add more names, new reports will come out, and we're always going to do it a little bit differently, so just kind of keep that in mind. So the first name that I got coming up here at number 5, and they are ranked from 5 down to 1. The QB that's at number 1 is the dude that I believe is the most likely the Raiders add this offseason. Coming in here at number 5 is Kirk Cousins, and as it stands now, you would have to trade for him. Atlanta gave him a 4-year deal this offseason, but based on reports, based on the Falcons' actions, I believe that they're going to move on from Cousins, who did struggle a little bit this season, especially near the end of the year. He started off hot, but then started to struggle, threw for only 1 touchdown, 10 interceptions in his final 5 games, and really proved that Achilles wasn't 100% healthy. Though, I would look at what Spytek was able to do with somebody like Tom Brady, what Spytek was able to do with Baker Mayfield, and just overall how a lot of these quarterbacks that were journeymen, a lot of these dudes that were considered washed, were able to be brought in and could show, like, okay, we can get it done at the QB position. Because if you're the Raiders and you're trying to win right away, I'll admit, going out and getting Kirk Cousins, I ain't trading for Cousins. If he gets released, then you look at that option. And if you try to go out and get Kirk, you're probably looking at a deal somewhere in the 3 years to $75 million range, which might scare some people out there. But you also have to look at what Cousins was at the beginning and at the end. And these numbers here are not good. The first 9 games, Cousins looked like Kirk Cousins. The last 5 games, I mean, look at those numbers, y'all. And I don't think people realize how bad Kirk really truly was. He was unable to move. The team was unable to run the ball. He was unable to spread the ball. The arm strength was weak. I'm putting Cousins on this list because I could see the Raiders trying to take a chance on him because they see the name value and because they think, again, John Spytek, Tom Brady, they have a lot of confidence in themselves. But I'm being real with you. I would rather the Raiders keep Aiden O'Connell at $1.2 million and have him be the guy instead of you going out and giving Kirk Cousins a long-term deal because Aiden at 1.2, I can make the argument, is way better than Kirk Cousins at $25 million per year. Let's go to number 4 here on the list, and this is going to be Justin Fields, who is a free agent this offseason. And Fields, to me, is if you're looking for a true 1-year stopgap, best bang for your buck option, I believe Fields could be that guy. He's got ties to Champ Kelly. Champ Kelly was a part of the regime that drafted him in Chicago. And he can run, he can pass, he can do a lot of different things. And when I think about the style of offense that Pete Carroll ran with Russell Wilson earlier in the years, it was an offense that was predicated on running the football effectively, playing great defense, and just making sure that your quarterback didn't turn the ball over. Fields to me showed that when he was put in a similar system like that in Pittsburgh, he was able to win games. And I get it. He was benched for Russell Wilson, but you cannot deny the fact that this is one of the best rushers of the football, and I could see the Raiders trying to find a quarterback that maybe gives them a little bit of ability in terms of running the ball. It's not going to cost a lot. Spytek has them valued somewhere about 1 year. You're looking at maybe about $10 to $11 million per year. So if you're the Raiders, and let's say you don't love the quarterbacks in this year's draft, and you wanted to go out and add a Justin Fields on a 1-year deal, you keep Aiden O'Connell as your backup at $1.2 million, and then you go, okay, I don't love the quarterbacks this year, but I really like the quarterbacks in next year's draft, because I agree. I think the QBs in next year's draft could be a little bit better. So you could look at that option as just a 1-year rental, because if you're going to go out and get Fields, you're going to build that offensive line. You're going to do everything that you would have originally done compared to having a rookie quarterback. Let's go to number 3 here on the list. It's going to be Sam Darnold, who's coming off an incredible year with the Minnesota Vikings, but another free agent option. And the reason why I have Fields and Darnold ranked higher than Cousins is because Cousins at this current juncture is not a free agent. Darnold, though, was special. 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, but kind of like the Cousins argument, where started out great, and the final 2 games for Darnold are going to freak people out. However, look at Baker Mayfield. Look at what his career has turned into down there in Tampa Bay. And if you're the Raiders, that's what they're going to try to recreate here with Sam Darnold. I would say if you brought in Darnold, it would probably be a deal somewhere along the lines of 2, maybe 3 years, somewhere around $30 million per year. And you could tie that with somebody like a Pete Carroll, do a 2 to 3 year type of window. I know Sam Darnold scares people. I'm going to be real. Sam Darnold scares me too. But this is an organization and a regime that has shown that they can bring in quarterbacks and make them work. Speaking of which, one of those quarterbacks that Pete Carroll was able to bring in and make it work was Geno Smith. Smith was a product that everybody thought was done, was going to be a bust from the New York Jets, wasn't going to be able to make it, and then all of a sudden, Pete Carroll showed that he believed. Carroll put him in the right system, put him in the right offense, put him in the right culture, and put players around him that gave him the best ability. In 2022, he had 30 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Did take a little bit of a year step back in 2023, but also lost his offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron in 2024. There was a lot of different moving parts around for Geno, and I have Geno at number 2, not because I would be thrilled about bringing in Smith, but because he does have those clear ties to Pete Carroll. I mean, hell, when the Raiders hired Carroll, Smith went on his Instagram story, posted a picture of him and Pete. I'll admit this. When you look at the contract of Geno, I could see Seattle moving on from him. And when I say moving on from him, I mean cutting him. Because they save a lot more money by cutting him compared to actually keeping him on the roster. It's like a $13 million dead cap hit. So if you know that they're going to move on from him, the Raiders could be able to get him cheap. But he's the number 2 option. And I'll be real, number 1 seems pretty clear-cut right now. So how about this? If the Raiders sign or trade for a quarterback, who will it be? Not who you want it to be. If you were a betting man, you were to put your chips on the table, who's the quarterback that you think the Raiders would trade or sign? To me, the answer is this. It's Russell Wilson. And it's Russell Wilson because timing is everything in the NFL, and the amount of rumors that started popping up when the Raiders hired Pete Carroll. It was Russell Wilson this, Russell Wilson that. Wilson also has come out and said that him and Pete are good now. They were able to mend that relationship. Wilson was on a podcast saying when Carroll was let go by the Seahawks, he went out there and met him. I know Russell has been not a fan favorite of the Raiders, but we also got to be able to give him his credit of we need somebody that can come in and take a cheap deal at the quarterback position. Wilson played at $1.2 million. I know that he was also making a boatload of money, technically $40 million from Denver, but he still was able to take less money, and he proved that he was willing to do it. Wilson also back in 2023, or 2024 technically, that offseason, wanted to be a Raider. Like Russell Wilson wanted to be a Raider. So when you have the ties to Pete Carroll, and then you look at what John Spytek was able to do with Tom Brady and Baker Mayfield, and then the fact that Russell wanted to be a Raider before, and the fact that Russell is willing to potentially play on a cheaper deal in order to win a championship ring, because Wilson wants to be looked at as Tom Brady. He has mentioned himself as legacy is the most important thing. If Russell wants to seal a legacy, and he wants to prove that he's even that dude even more, winning the AFC West is a hell of a way to do it. So here are my Pete Carroll quarterback rankings for the Raiders if they try to trade or sign somebody this offseason. If you want to take a screenshot, please do so. If there's any names that I forgot, you can yell at me. You can let me know on Instagram and Twitter at MitchellRenz365. All right, y'all. So we still got right now over 1,600 people. I got a few super chats that I want to get to, and then we still have one more segment here on today's show. Is there any chance that you could run through some of these? I've been drinking a lot of water today. I haven't eaten anything. I'm trying to, fast here a little bit. I need to go take a quick pee. I need to get some more water, and I need like 5 minutes to do it. 3 minutes to do it. So Chugs is going to hang out with all y'all. When I get back, again, give me like 3 to 5 minutes. We still have one more segment to get into, and it's all around Raiders free agents and the top guys that I want the silver and black to bring back.
Look at Smitty. Dude's freaking... There's 2,000 people watching this dude slack off right now. Look at this guy. Freaking Smitty. Look at this guy right here. Slacking off. Look at that guy. 2,000 people are looking at you being lazy as hell at your job.
That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm playing cards.
Playing a little Minesweep.
Yeah.
Playing a little Minesweep. All right, here we go. Chance-tastic. I like Dart, but I believe Avery Johnson is objectively better. He's a more polished mobile quarterback. Would love to get Avery in the later rounds next year. I believe you're talking about the quarterback from Kansas State. Live Oak says you're on OnlyFans. He can see your tabs. He's tweaking, bro. He's tweaking. Yeah, Avery Johnson, I believe from Kansas State. Look, guys like that, I hate, and it almost never works out. Where, whoever comes in as the top quarterback for next year's draft, like the guys who we're looking at, this could be the top QB next year, it rarely ever works out that that's who it is. So it's hard to project these guys. This past year, 25 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 2,700 yards in 13 games. Dual threat, though, rushing the ball, had about 600 yards on the ground. I mean, okay. Yeah, I could see it, but it's just somebody who I'm going to have to keep an eye out for next year because I hate tank for Arch. What happens if Arch isn't up to where we all think he's going to be or he's not that level? Then you're tanking for a maybe guy. I don't know. I think Avery Johnson is definitely somebody to keep an eye out for going into next year, but I don't know if he's a top guy with Nico Iamaleva, however you say his name, from Tennessee, and a couple of the other guys who might have a little bit more pedigree. Jersey Boy, would you rather re-sign Jacoby Myers or sign Chris Godwin while also trading for DK? Okay, this is a good question. I would rather sign Jacoby Myers. Last offseason, I did not give Jacoby Myers enough respect. That dude's a baller. And I don't mean this in any slight. Jacoby Myers is arguably one of the best wide receiver twos in the NFL. And I'm not talking about teams that have multiple wide receiver ones where it's like a 1A, a 1B. He's not a wide receiver one. If Jacoby Myers is your wide receiver one, you're in trouble going into next season. But in terms of wide receiver twos, guys who are next to superstar wide receivers, I would love Jacoby Myers. He does everything you'd want. He blocks. He's a great possession receiver. Throughout the regular season, there was a stat, Jacoby Myers, at one point, I think it was week 14, week 15, had 0 drops. 0 drops for Jacoby Myers. So I think adding him, I would much rather sign him than Chris Godwin because Godwin has come off of multiple injuries. He's also an excellent receiver. But the amount that you would pay Chris Godwin and how much I would be worried about his contract and his health, give me Jacoby Myers over Chris Godwin. I don't think the DK thing really factors in for me as much of who I want to pair with him. I think both options would be fine with that, but I'm going Jacoby Myers.
I mean, I guess the good news here is Jacoby's under contract for one more year. He's not a free agent until 2026. He does have $0 million guaranteed, so that could be somebody that they want to try to keep happy. But I think also at the same time, if I'm Jacoby Myers, I'm okay playing on my contract this year at about $11 million because if I'm Jacoby, even me, I want to go, well, I'm getting up there in age. I'll play one more year on the Raiders, and then I'll hit the open market, and I'll test out my free agency. Though he did just pass 1,000 receiving yards for the first time in his career, so maybe he wants a raise, a little bit of a bump up. But Chris Godwin is a really, really good receiver that I do think the Raiders need that style of receiver that can kind of run, more of the intermediate routes a little bit better. But Chugs was right. A lot of injuries around Chris Godwin. What up, Rubio? I'm from Santa Maria, Posa Robles, California. If you guys need any partnership with places here like 805 Beer or Firestone, let me know. Lots of Raiders.
Always hustling.
Yeah, bro. I mean, if you can set it up. I also talked to some people from 805 Beer before. I've done a few things out in the 805 area because, right, that's Santa Maria. I want to say one of my dude, this back in like 2019, there was I think it was Santa Maria BMW sponsored the show, and we were like showing BMWs and stuff on the program at one
Dude,
time.
That's lit.
Yeah, and if like you would test drive a BMW, you would get hooked up with like Raiders tickets. That was a long time. That was way before Chugs, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If anybody could hook me up with anything, like I'm never gonna say no. Like if you told me I could drink 805 beer, like you walk into 805 Brewery, if you know somebody there and go, hey, these guys crush beers. He said that the only beer he would crush is 805 if you sponsor the Raiders Report. Bro, I'm crushing 805 then. What? Firestone, I feel like I also talked to them.
Oh, no, it's just some NFL news. The Texans just interviewed another guy for their OC.
I
the
think
past two guys they've interviewed.
Pep, right?
No. Thad Lewis and
Thad Lewis.
Jeff Nixon, both those guys
Thad Lewis is great.
worked under Chip Kelly in San Francisco in 2016.
Thad Lewis,
The QB coach for the Bucs.
I was going to say, yeah, Thad Lewis has been a name that I've talked about a bunch as well. Could be a good one. Let's go to Nabman. Rodgers is a product of our society. Expected love, opportunity, special treatment. I grew up a Raider fan, meaning you expect work hard for what means to you. Never expect past accomplishments to matter. I agree with you, Nabman, where I agree with this down here, where at the end of the day, like, you got to put in the time and the effort to work where, like, I'll tell you this. The reason why the Raiders Report is successful is because nobody outworks Chugs and I. And nobody has outworked us for 5 years. Like, you'll get people that'll show up for a few months, for a year, but to be able to do it day in and day out consistently, it's tough. And I know how tough it is, right? Like, the first year, you're probably not going to make any money. Second year, you're probably not going to make much money. I mean, it's a grind out there. But I think people rock with us because it's commitment to excellence. But at the same time, there are way too many people that expect things for them when I think in life you do things because you should do things the right way.
It's the wussification
and then
of
if you end
America.
up getting the thank you on the pat of the back, like,
Dude,
that's okay then.
it's the wussification of America.
Well,
I'm
like,
telling you.
This
It's-
is the participation trophy.
It's just like kids aren't allowed to play dodgeball anymore.
Well,
You're not allowed to.
That's crazy.
You're not allowed to bring peanut butter into schools.
Well, that's Sam's fault.
Like,
No, but I hear
these
you
kids
now,
are
man.
weak. These kids are weak.
Rubio, I can be in an in-person spokesperson, so it's more professional. In-person spokesperson. The
we go.
Super Bowl is on my birthday, 20 years old. Dude, that's going to be electric. That means next year when you turn 21, Rubio, we're going to blow the roof off this joint. Suave, if we miss on either a strong safety or a shortstop, sign Justin Fields, go all out, or you mean
No,
Shedeur
Sanders.
Shedeur Sanders, go all out on him and try and make him the guy with AOC as QB2. If not, don't sign him. Go with Russ and Milroe for the future. I know you watch the show a lot, and this is kind of like my idea as well, where if you're somebody that you want to keep AOC as your QB2, I legitimately think bringing in a Justin Fields, pairing him with AOC, not a bad idea. Again, more of like a one-year rental to see how it ends up working. If you want to go get Shedeur Sanders and Justin Fields and Aiden O'Connell, again, I don't mind that idea either, but you could also, again, if you need Aiden to be a bridge and you know it's 1 year, you could. that's not a win now mentality. I'll tell you that right now. It goes against what Pete Carroll's thinking. So I don't think that that's going to end up happening. For the Russell Wilson and Jalen Milroe idea, though, I do like that one a lot. Also, Van Thrick! Bang! Good things are coming, nation. Good things are coming. That man's had a bang today. Ventrack had a bang today. So, Ventrack, I'm just going to tell you this. I'm going to give you a number on Thursday, okay? And if you hit that number on Thursday, you're going to be in Mount Raidermore. But I want you to wait to see what that number is on Thursday. It's not a, I mean, it's a big number. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not a small number by any stretch. But it's to break a record. I've kind of already mentioned this on a past stream where I said if you break the record, you're in Mount Raidermore. So that's the record that I'm talking about. You're close. You're close. John, so all I'm saying, Ventrack, is I'd rather you save it for the Thursday show where we're going to get way, way rowdier. John, if we can't get either Cam or Sanders, I'd prefer Carter in the first, Milroe in the second. What are your thoughts on that? Carter and, I mean, Abdul Carter's a stud, guys. Like, I mean, he might be the best defensive player in this year's draft.
You can't go deep.
The only way that if you're the Raiders that you go defensive line is if you let, you don't bring back Caleb on, you don't bring back Malcolm Kuntz. You're a little bit worried about making just Tyree Wilson an interior guy. Maxx Crosby's, again, I think Chug says there's no way. I do think that there's a way, but there's a lot less of a chance. To me, the way that I see Pete Carroll teams being built, Will Johnson is more likely than Abdul Carter. But again, I do not think Abdul Carter is going to be there at 6. Raphael, glad to have seen you on the GOAT 209 IG Live. Well, I joined the GOAT. I joined Raider Rundown. I joined Severe, and I also joined Pharaoh NFL. Like, I tried to join a bunch of shows last week, and Alex was out of town. And my biggest message is, when you go through a year that we just had as Raider fans, let's be real, it was a tough year. We got to do a better job of uniting as a nation. And I don't know why there's all these weird cliques and all this weird, we'll call it politics that go on in Raiders content world. But I'm just not going to do that stuff anymore. And in my mind, this is literally how I thought about it. And you can ask Q. Josh and I joked about it. I said, if Josh and I can be good, why can't everybody be good in the nation? And, I was like, that was it. It was like, if Josh and I can mend our wounds, if that guy stops talking crap about me, if Josh and I are good, why can't everybody in the nation be good? So Josh and I are good. And I already told Josh, I'm going to try to get him up on here. Like, it's about coming together. It's about, it's about being together. And that's all I'm trying to do here, man. If the GOAT and I can put good energy out into the world, like, you can't be somebody that says, I want to have good energy out in the world and good things are going to happen. This is me doing my part and putting good energy out in the world for the nation. Hopefully the Raiders win. Hopefully it leads to more smiles. Hopefully it leads to more good Raiders content, which is why I'm here, why he's here, and why a lot of people are here. Let's go to Rubio. Waiting until I'm 21 to go meet y'all at a show. Yeah, I think waiting until you're 21 is probably the smart idea, not only for you, but for us as well, so we don't get in trouble. Crash Dog, better late than never. All right, I thought this said heading. Healing, what's up, fam? Duck race today. No duck race today. We will do a duck race on Thursday, so just keep an eye out for that one. We're going to do a special live show on Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Gunny, it's going to be a special show for our guy, Ventrack. Let's just say this. I think he's going to end up getting into Mount Raidermore on Thursday. That's all I'm going to say. Now, man, Mitch, if that's the thing, I'm out. That's the thing. I'm out. Money, I don't know what you're talking about. Nah, man. Yeah, I mean, you can let me know on that, man. I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Cameron, Justin Fields is the only quarterback that makes sense. I don't know if that's the case. I can make an argument of why Justin Fields makes sense. I can also make an argument of why Russell Wilson makes sense. I could do a video, and I will end up doing videos this offseason around why each of these guys can potentially be a good fit for the Raiders, where that's one thing I'm going to try to do a better job of this offseason. Instead of being like, oh, I hate this quarterback, the Raiders shouldn't go out and get this guy. I'm not thrilled about Justin, just like I'm not thrilled about Russell. I'm not thrilled about Geno. I'm not thrilled about Sam Darnold. And I'll tell people that in the video, but then I'll also tell you why, if you're the Raiders, why I would do it and why it makes sense that path. What up, Wrong Way? Mitch, I can already hear you. If we get Wilson, by week 3, you will be losing it, talking about starting AOC. In all honesty, dude, those conversations probably won't happen. And I think that they're not going to happen because I really think if you go out and get Russell Wilson, I don't know if Aiden O'Connell's the quarterback of this team or on the roster of this football team. And one of the things that I'm going to stay true to this year is the Raiders clearly have a plan in place. They're going to keep the head coach for a long time. Whoever quarterback they bring in, again, it's part of a plan. And I don't think that I would say that Aiden should go in over Russ because I don't think Aiden is close to Russell Wilson. Rubio, I think we just got that one as well. Yep. I think the one that he just sent in was, as all of us will be coming together with a Raiders dub. Hey, I think all we want is the Raiders to win. That's why we're here after all. At the end of the day, we want everybody here rocking with each other. That's what we want. That's what we want. All right, y'all, let's get into the final segment here on today's show. And I ask this because the final segment is going to be all around bringing back free agents. The Raiders right now, as it stands, you got 28 free agents out there. A lot of names. We also have a lot of money that we can spend. But what's your confidence level so far on what Tom Brady is doing so far? Scale it from 1 to 10. Because Pete Carroll's going to have a lot to say. John Spytek's going to have a lot to say. But we've already seen how much say Tom Brady has so far. So what's your confidence level so far from 1 to 10? 1, not confident at all. 10, you are very, very confident. Let me know down below. I see Rod's going to go with an 8. Prince says 8. Raphael's going to go 7. Cameron Sprouse says 5. Rebel says 6.9. Yoda's going to go 8. Rip City's going to go 9. Agent Red's going to go 8. 7. Right now, my confidence level on Tom Brady is probably around a 7 or 8. I like what he's done a lot. Still got to do a few other things, no doubt about it. But this organization is moving in the right direction. And when you look at the defensive coordinators that we've brought in to talk to, Carl Scott, Rob Leonard, and Patrick Graham. Those are 3 good, respected candidates. But it also shows me that they're smart candidates that they're bringing in. When you bring in those type of 3 names, the Raiders are doing the right things. Because, again, if this is Mark Davis running the show that Mark usually runs, he's bringing in the biggest names that he can possibly bring in. And I like that the Raiders are staying true to what they're doing. We'll also see if they bring in maybe, Chris Richards, the Gus Bradleys. That'll make me a little bit nervous. But the names that we've seen so far, I think that they're doing the right things. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get into the final segment here on today's show. It's going to be all around Raiders free agents. And we're going to be talking about who I want the silver and black to bring back. Once we get done with this segment, if there's any more super chats, I will answer those questions. And then, well, Chugs and I are going to skedaddle on out of here. You ready? All right, it is game time. That's going to be coming up here on the show. Top free agents the Raiders need to bring back coming up right now. The Raiders have a lot of free agents, and I've been asked, who should the silver and black bring back this offseason? I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report. That's exactly what I'm going to tell you today. I got the top 5 free agents that I want Pete Carroll, John Spytek, Tom Brady to re-sign to build this team and to create a little bit of stability. Here's the question, though. You got 28 free agents in total. You got $92.3 million in salary cap space, the second most in the NFL according to Over the Cap. So you have to make certain decisions. You have to make certain priorities, and that's exactly what I'm here to do today. If you want more Raiders free agency videos, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications, because I promised you, the closer and closer we get to free agency, the more and more videos we're going to do. Hell, in March, I bet you the only videos I'm doing are Raiders free agency videos. So for those of you that do not know, there are 3 types of free agents. You got restricted free agents, exclusive rights free agents, and then unrestricted free agents. When you think of the term free agent, you typically think of the unrestricted free agent. But for the Raiders, they got a lot of restricted free agents, and they have a lot of exclusive rights free agents. If you don't know what a restricted free agent is, here's how NFL.com defines it. A player with 3 accrued seasons and an expired contract. RFAs are free to negotiate and sign with any team, but the original team can offer them a qualifying offer that can come with the rights of a first refusal and or draft pick compensation. So essentially, and here's how I'm going to put it, if the Raiders want any of these players here, they are going to bring them back. So when you look at Zach Carter, Luke Masterson, Isaiah Paul-Mal, Desmond Ridder, DJ Turner, there's only 2 names that I could sit up here and go, the Raiders are probably going to try to bring them back. Now, maybe Zach Carter for depth in terms of a practice squad option, and also the Raiders just don't have a lot of depth right now at DT. Could be a cheap option. DJ Turner could be another cheap option, but the top player that the Raiders are going to try to bring back, it's going to be Isaiah Paul-Mal. He is your top restricted free agent. He's somebody that got some starts last season when Marcus Epps went down, was a UDFA back in 2022, did a great job at USC. Maybe Pete likes that a little bit, but the versatility that Isaiah Paul-Mal shows, you could put him out there right now as your starting strong safety, but also the fact that Moehrig and Epps are free agents, Paul-Mal is going to be the guy that they try to bring back. Let's now look at exclusive rights free agents, because there's a few important players here for the Raiders as well. And this is any player with fewer than 3 accrued seasons and an expired contract. If his original team offers him a 1-year contract at the league minimum based on his credited seasons, the player cannot negotiate with other teams. So essentially, if the Raiders look at any of these 6 players here and they go, I'm going to give you a 1-year contract at the vet minimum, those players have to sign the deal. The names that I would say consider to look out for, watch out for Charles Snowden. Again, I don't love the situation that happened around him last season, but the Raiders do need defensive end depth. Kanai Malga just always seems to be able to find practice squads because he's a good special teams player. But the top exclusive rights free agent that the Raiders got to bring back, and I'll be real, it's not close to me, it's Jordan Meredith. And Meredith was a player that showed early on in that preseason that he kind of understood the system, that he was a solid offensive lineman, got better and better and better. And then even when, a few injuries popped up, Meredith was a reliable O-lineman. Hell, there are some people out there that think that he might even have a shot to start if the Raiders brought him back at left guard. It wouldn't be what I would want to do, but a lot of times, we always hear the term in basketball, the 6-man. Jordan Meredith could be a good 6-man on this Raiders offensive line. They're going to end up bringing him back on the vet min. But now let's talk about the unrestricted free agents. And it's any player with 4 or more seasons on an expired contract. These players are free to negotiate and sign with any football team. The free agents that the Raiders have on the offensive side of the football, Alexander Madison, Amir Abdullah at running back. Your wide receivers, Terrace Marshall Jr. At tight end is Harrison Bryant. Offensive line is Andres Pete and Cody Whitehair. On the defensive side of the football, many, many more names. Adam Butler, John Jenkins, Caleb Von Chase, and Janarius Robinson. Malcolm Kuntz on the defensive line. At linebacker, it's Divine Deablo, Robert Spillane, followed up then in the secondary with Nate Hobbs, Darnay Holmes, Trevon Moehrig, and Marcus Epps. As you can see, a lot of starters, a lot of players that we could potentially bring back. So the objective of this show was to say this. There's a lot of players that we're all sitting here going, oh, we should bring that guy back. Oh, we should bring that guy back. Oh, we should bring that guy back. Because the Raiders are going to try to pay Maxx Crosby. Because the Raiders are going to try to, potentially go out and get a quarterback this offseason. You look at the $92.5 million, and I really do believe people just go, we have all the money in the world. We can bring back all these guys. This is going to be a new regime. So it's going to be really, really important that you bring back the right players that fit your system, that fit the Raider mentality, that prove stability. And coming up, I have the top 5 players of why I would bring them back here on the Raiders Report. Before I give you my top 5, though, who is the number 1 free agent you want the Raiders to re-sign? The number 1 guy. Is it somebody like a Robert Spillane? Is it somebody like a, Nate Hobbs? Maybe it's somebody along the lines of Amir Abdullah. Maybe it's somebody along the lines of, well, how about this? He's not my number 1, but he's somebody that deserves to make this list, and he's coming up here at number 5. I'm going to go with Caleb Von Chase, and we have him listed as a linebacker. He's edge rusher more or less here for the Raiders, and when you look at what he did in Carolina, he was nothing, okay? Then he comes over here to the Las Vegas Raiders and proved that he could be a good defensive end and prove that he could be a good edge rusher. And quite frankly, had a career year with racking up 5 sacks. If Patrick Graham and Rob Leonard don't return, I'm just going to be blunt. He does not make my top 5. Because both Leonard and PG are still in the consideration, well, then he makes my top 5. Because K'Lavon Chaisson without Rob Leonard and PG was not motivated. With them, I think it just goes to show how good of a coach they are. It's also a cheap option at edge. The Raiders need to be able to go out and get pressure. You're going to have to take down Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix. You need to be able to get after the quarterback. And in 508 snaps last season, according to PFF, K'Lavon Chaisson had a 63 overall grade, good. Run defense can get a little bit better, but he was clearly, and I mean clearly, better at being able to go out and get the quarterback at 74.7 pass rush grade. So if you know for a fact that Malcolm Koonce is going to be a free agent, that you're a little bit short on the defensive line, yeah, we're hoping Tyree Wilson can take that next step, but edge rushers cost a lot of money. If I'm the Raiders and I bring back Rob Leonard and I bring back Patrick Graham, quite frankly, I think you'd be dumb to not try to bring back K'Lavon Chaisson, a player that was drafted in round 1, a player that's got all this athletic ability. He's somebody that I would bring back, and I have him at number 5 because it would not cost a lot of money, because I also think it's the place where K'Lavon would want to go. Let's go to number 4, and this might surprise some people because I got Malcolm Koonce. The fact that I'm saying to re-sign K'Lavon Chaisson and Malcolm Koonce, to me, is stability. Maxx Crosby wants guys on the defensive line that he has worked with in multiple seasons. If you're the Raiders and you want to prove stability again, a great way to do that is to show love to Malcolm, who missed the entire 2024 season with an ACL injury, but he did have surgery on the 21st. He's expected to be a full go, but this is another player that, until he found Patrick Graham and Rob Leonard, was not good. I mean, it looked like a waste of talent, quite frankly, and was somebody that a lot of Raider fans were going, why aren't we using him correctly? Why aren't we using him correctly? Then they finally started to use him correctly, had 8 sacks in the final 9 games of 2023, and that's why I want to bring him back. I also think that if you're Malcolm Koonce, you could test the market, but people haven't seen you in a year. You know who has seen you? Patrick Graham, Rob Leonard, and the last time that you saw that pairing, Malcolm probably would want to combine that with the past coaching staff, because then he's going to want to try to get paid in the future. Like, I could see Malcolm Koonce taking a 1-year prove-it deal on himself, that way to retest the open market in the following seasons. But we know for a fact Crosby wants to work with familiar faces. By re-signing Malcolm Koonce and K'Lavon Chaisson, it's a cheap way to do it for a lot of talent and proven players that can get it done with Rob Leonard and Patrick Graham. But I'll tell you this, if we don't have Leonard or Patrick Graham, they do not make my list. The reason why I did it like this is because my top 3 are so clear-cut top 3 that no matter who you bring in at defensive coordinator, they're still going to be my top 3. So coming up here is this. A very critical player that the Las Vegas Raiders need to bring back. And quite frankly, I think a lot of people are going to expect the player that I'm going to talk about to be number 1, but I have him at number 3. I'll tell you who that player is here in just a moment, but number 1 on your list, it's got to be Game Time if you're looking for the last-minute tickets and that lowest price guarantee, especially if you're trying to go to the big game. Because Game Time is focused on bringing people together in 2025 and creating those lasting memories. Whether you're trying to go to a sporting event, maybe it's a basketball, maybe it's a football game, maybe it's a comedy event. I want you to trust Game Time because they're going to help you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS. If you're wondering what time is it, it's Game Time. So if you're planning on going out to a city, okay? Let's say you're planning on going to a city over the weekend. One of the really cool features with Game Time, not only the Game Time picks, not only the all-in pricing, but if you're going somewhere over the weekend, you can go on Game Time and you can search that city and see what events are going to be happening. If you're going out to Las Vegas, there's so many events that are happening that I want to make sure that you're getting a great deal. Like, if I go out to Vegas and I know I'm not doing anything, I'll go on the Game Time app, and let's say it's 6 o'clock right now. I'm sitting there at dinner. I'm like, all right, well, let's look at some events here at about 7 o'clock. That's when I would go on the Game Time app. That's when I would start looking to see what exactly they have going on. What do you say? So Chugs is showing me right now. So right now I'm looking at the Stars at Golden Knights. It's tonight. You can get lower level, row R, seat 5, I guess is what it is, for $160. I mean, these are really good ticket prices, actually. Like, if I were to go to a hockey game, I want to be right in the center ice. Bottom line, this is the app chugs that I use to get our tickets, and I think that you guys would enjoy them as well. That link's down in the comments. It's down in the description of today's show. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. All-in pricing, lowest price guaranteed thanks to the Game Time picks. Huge, huge shout-out for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Let's go to a very critical player that the Raiders need to re-sign. His name is Robert Spillane. The reason why he's at number 3 is because he is a linebacker and he's 29 years old. The other players to me are at more important positions for the Silver and Black, but let's not get it twisted. Team captain, where's the green dot? If you're trying to provide physicality, if you're trying to provide stability, if you want to make Maxx Crosby happy, Robert Spillane is somebody you got to consider. He's got 306 combined tackles over the past 2 seasons, has shown you that he's gotten better in terms of the pass coverage ability, and I don't know if there's another dude that represents what it means to be a Raider better than Robert Spillane. And if you're trying to provide stability, if you're trying to prove and build a culture, why would you not bring back Spillane? And also, like, again, it's kind of a different, way to play him. But Cam Chancellor was known for being like Bam Bam, right? Like, he was somebody that was going to smack you in the mouth in the middle of that Legion of Doom. Well, if we're trying to create the Legion of Doom, we need somebody that can be a thumper. And Divine Deablo is also a free agent. So if I'm the Las Vegas Raiders and I'm considering which guy do I want to bring back, the player that I am more inclined to bring back is, in fact, Robert Spillane. Let's go to number 2 here on the list, and it is Trevon Moehrig. When you look at Moehrig, you got to look at the work that he was able to put in over the offseason, and this is another player that got a lot better, and he's one of the more versatile safeties and is always a versatile safety. I think has always done well in a Pete Carroll defense overall. Only 25 years old, will be 26 here in a few months, but 25 years old with 66 of game playing experience. If I had to choose, do I want to bring back the 25-year-old Moehrig or the 29-year-old Marcus Epps? I'm going to bring back Moehrig. Also, reminder earlier in the video, Isaiah Pola-Mao, the 3 safeties that played the most snaps for us at safety, all of them are going to hit the open market. If it was up to me, I'd bring back Moehrig at free safety. I'd bring back Isaiah Pola-Mao. You let Marcus Epps test the waters out there, and then you could also try to bring in another safety maybe in the draft to learn behind those 2 guys because you also have Trey Taylor. Let's go to, though, the number 1 player. If I'm the Raiders, I want them to re-sign, and I'm only doing it because of the way that I think. I believe you win in the trenches, and the number 1 player I want the Raiders to bring back is Adam Butler, the 30-year-old defensive tackle. I want the Raiders to win in the trenches. And when I think about complementary pieces, Adam Butler to me last season might have been the most underappreciated player on this entire Raiders defense. And he just opened things up for Christian Wilkins. He opens things up for Maxx Crosby. So when I look at the defensive line and I go back and I look at a lot of the successful teams that have beaten teams like the undefeated Patriots, like Patrick Mahomes, you got to be able to get pressure. And for the Raiders, if you told me it was Maxx Crosby, Christian Wilkins, Adam Butler, and then a combination of Tyree Wilson or Malcolm Kuntz, that's a defensive line that I like a lot. And I also don't think that you'd have to pay him all that much money. Yes, DTs get paid, but we've also seen the importance of having a defensive tackle that you don't have to overpay, and he is 30 years old, who's got connections to Rob Leonard, to Patrick Graham, to a lot of these guys on the defensive line. Crosby wants continuity on the defensive line. Butler has relationships with Wilkins, with Maxx Crosby. And again, Butler was Wilkins' teammate back in their days in Miami. So I know that he is older, but he's got back-to-back seasons, 34 games played. He's been healthy. He's been reliable. He's been good in the run game. He's been good in the pass game. And he's just a great complementary piece. And it doesn't always have to be the sexy name. But the reason why Adam Butler to me is the number 1 name is because we need to win in the trenches. And when you win in the trenches, you win elsewhere. And based on a lot of the other talent that I see in the draft, based on a lot of the other talent that I think you can get in free agency, I am going to bring back Adam Butler because no matter what, I want the Raiders to add another DT. Re-signing Butler is way cheaper than going out and signing a brand new defensive tackle. So those are my top 5 free agents that I would want the Raiders to bring back. However, though, I also know that I'm leaving off some really important players from that list. I'm going to tell you some other names, some honorable mentions, and why I would and would not put them in my top 5. Special reminder, though, we are doing a special live show January 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Venthrax got a chance to get in Mount Raider more. That's going to be the later part of the show, the happy hour portion. But I also wanted to be able to go live, have a little bit of fun. The last live show of January, which is kind of crazy. So pull up. It's going to be a fun show. It's going to be like the way that we do Tuesday Live is the first half, and then Raiders Happy Hour is going to be the last hour of that show. So here are the honorable mentions. Nate Hobbs, Divine Deablo, Amir Abdullah, Marcus Epps. The biggest reason why I did put Nate Hobbs on this list is because, to me, there's other slot corners that you could potentially find. But the bottom line is injuries scare me. And every single year, Hobbs has missed time. The Raiders are going to want to be a physical team. And if we're going to rely on Nate Hobbs, we need to be able to rely on him at being healthy. It was okay when you were paying him a rookie contract. Now he's going to start making around like $7 to $8 million per year, and he just hasn't been able to show that he's healthy, which with the amount of holes that we have, with the amount of holes plus the amount of money that we need to spend, I need players that can prove that they can be healthy. Divine Deablo, this is another interesting name of, I kind of mentioned it before with Robert Spillane, could you turn Divine Deablo into a Cam Chancellor? And I laugh at that, and if I was Divine, it's how I would, preach that, hey, keep me around. Reminder, Divine Deablo was a strong safety coming out of Virginia Tech. They converted him to a linebacker. If I'm Deablo, I'm an athletic freak. I'd be kind of intrigued to maybe earn my job that way. Amir Abdullah showed that he was a good pass-catching back. We've seen past teams use pass-catching backs, especially, Tom Brady systems. And then Marcus Epps, team captain, played a lot of snaps back in 2023, but it had that ACL injury, which kind of zapped him of his season. These are the only other honorable mentions that I would bring up for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, again, a lot of names, a lot of salary cap, a lot of moving parts. Bottom line is this. Once Raiders free agency starts, which I want to say is March 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be going live for free agency. If you want more Raiders free agency content, subscribe to the Raiders Report because we're about to really get this thing ramped up. Dream vacation spot. So today's National Plan a Vacay Day. I'll let you go first and see who asked the question. Where would you guys go?
I've never been to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to the Virgin Islands. And Japan is another one. I want to go to Japan. Me and my wife both want to go to Japan and go overseas.
Yeah.
Oh, Spain's another one, Big Luck.
Yeah, I have some stuff planned for my honeymoon.
Rebel said Thailand, that'd be cool. Dubai, Japan. Our LA says Japan was great. Me and my wife both want to visit Japan.
I want to go to the Maldives.
Greece.
I'd love to be able to go there. I want to go to Greece. I want to go to Spain. I want to travel. I want to go to Italy. I want to go visit places like where my grandmother grew up. I want to go visit like where my grandfather's from. He's from Hamburg, Germany. My grandmother, she's from a small town in Italy. I do want to travel, and I'm going to try to travel a little bit, but obviously it's tough with our schedule. We can't miss too much, but we do our best. Also, we did just cross 1,000 likes. Bill says Rome. Raphael, I thought that said Oklahoma, but I realized that it's Japan. I was like, bro, if your dream is to go to Oklahoma, shoot bigger. Like, we can shoot for the stars.
No shade at Oklahoma.
Exactly, no shade at Oklahoma.
But I think people in Oklahoma would understand.
Yeah. If you're like, dude, if there's one place I want to go, Oklahoma.
Before I pass, I'm trying to go to Oklahoma.
I'm trying to hit the slots at Oklahoma. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We got a few super chats to get through. Once we get through them, then Chugs and I are going to bounce. All of us will be coming together with a Raiders Super Bowl dub. Sooner or later, I'm hoping in my lifetime we see a Raiders Super Bowl win. John, can you imagine if we got Fields and Milroe on this team, crazy fast quarterbacks? I don't think this is a terrible idea. Like, if you're trying to build an offense, both of these QBs could run and execute a similar offense. Though, if it's Milroe, I would rather the Raiders get Russell Wilson because I trust Wilson to be a better bridge and better groomer than somebody like Justin Fields. Cameron, why the discrepancy on our cap space? I've heard 105, 92, 85. A lot of times it's just the way like Spotrac or Over the Cap does it. The number used to be over 100, and I was saying this the other day on the show, and now it's at about 92.5. The reason why, and this is my guess, because the old number I want to say was at like 108.3, and now it's at 92.5. Remember a few weeks ago, when the Raiders announced all their future contracts that they were signed? There was like 12 to 13 players signed to future deals. And a lot of those deals are along the lines of like 1 year for $650 to somewhere between $950. Is just usually how those deals work. To me, that's why those numbers are different. And that's my best guess. I don't know exactly. Rebel, is there any players that come back from an ACL? Players come back from an ACL all the time. Like, now with medicine, now with everything the way that it is, ACLs used to be looked at as like a career ender. Players can come back now from an ACL. Now, how quickly do you come back is totally different. The biggest problem with the ACL injury is quickness. Like, for somebody that tore their ACL and just totally ruined their knee, you can get your speed back, but honestly, it's your quickness. Quickness is more important. So for a guy with first jump like Malcolm Kuntz, you need to make sure that they still are able to retain that quickness. All right, y'all. Chugs and I are getting on out here again. Over 1,000 likes. We had over 1,000 people tune in the entirety of the show. The next time that you will see Jeremy and I is going to be on Thursday, January 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Appreciate all y'all. Venthrak, I'll see you then. From me, from Jeremy Chugs, it's been the Raiders Report. See y'all later.